Welcome to the Logic Bomb podcast. We got a lot to go over today. We're going to talk about where we've been and everything with year 7, a ton of stuff, invite, all of that, the new face you see. But I think we first want to talk about, kind of the dark cloud that's hanging over everybody in the world's heads right now, which is, the news that Russia has invaded Ukraine.
What to say other than what a very sad day for Ukrainian people, for Russian people who have no say in what this man has done today. And I think there's a lot of people who are going to be feeling really gloom. I hope that the podcast today, I know we all discussed about whether or not we should even do it. But shout out to Chloe who messaged me and said, you should do it because I've been doom scrolling all day. You've been doom scrolling all day. Get a couple of hours away from it. So I'm hoping that that's what we can be here for everyone today.
That was pretty much my take as well. Like, I was stuck to the news from 7 until I went live, and then just have a couple of hours of talking about something different, and then back to catching up. So I hope that helps some people just get their mind off stuff, and then for the rest, we can talk about Siege.
Yeah, that's my thoughts exactly. We'll be thinking about everybody over there affected, and exactly what they said. So, let's I guess get into some Siege and talk about I guess first of all, Zeronic and I, it's been a while since the last Logic Bomb. Now that we're back, you see a new face, a new permanent host with JessGOAT joining us. I guess first of all, let me just say, where we've been, we just both felt like the last season of Siege was pretty dry. From a content perspective, there wasn't much to talk about, and we didn't want to get on and force it. And it's really that simple. Anything you want to add to that, Zeronic?
No, we were only complaining, and we don't like hearing that. So if we don't even want to hear ourselves or us speak, then why should anyone else? I think it was good to take a bit of a break. I'm super excited for the next one, and now I feel like I have some energy to do it again.
Sure.
So yeah.
With that
also,
said,
congratulations before we do anything else. Flanked on your little thing.
Oh, thank you. That was the commendation. Thank you. And that's coming from you, who's also our commendation award winner. What, a couple of years ago, right?
No, never.
This man has never been given the stage he deserves.
Wait,
I
remember SI artwork.
Picture.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but we didn't get I never got a little thing.
Okay.
A little plaque.
Okay.
A little. I have no.
So you're only in it for the trophy. You got some cool artwork done. You got the coolest.
I'm only there for the artwork.
You got the coolest profile picture ever out of that deal. But no, thank you for mentioning that. It was an honor. What else can I say? I've dedicated a large portion of my life to Siege over the last 6 years, and to be recognized for that was awesome. So thanks for mentioning that. But enough about me. JessGOAT, thank you so much for agreeing to come on and do this podcast with us. It feels rejuvenating, and as somebody who's been on the podcast before, I think the chemistry was great. I think that it was very well received from the audience. So it was, and thinking about, hey, let's get back to a 3-person podcast. It was a pretty easy decision for me to, reach out to you. And I'm just so glad you said yes.
No, I appreciate you guys reaching out. When you reached out, I was like, do I want to join 2 old angry men talk about Siege? And they add a third person who's also angry and getting old. I could probably balance it out with my youth and my height. So I had to say yes. At the end of the day, it's a public service at that point.
Well, seriously, we appreciate it, and I think it'll help level us out a little bit. I can't wait to see your insight.
I think it's good to have a third going. Just stop.
Right. Yeah, to get us to put a line in between me and Zeronic sometimes. That's good.
A little timeout.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into year 7, new season, all that. I think maybe the best place to start would be Invite, which Invite really kicked all this off. Jess worked Invite. She was there in Stockholm, doing the desk, and get us into that, Jess. What are your overall takeaways with Invite from a competitive standpoint and just from working it?
I think the biggest thing that sort of struck me is like it felt like an exciting event to be at, because I don't think a lot of people realize when you've been in Siege for so many years and you've seen it at the top level, or you've been a part of it at the top level for so long, you kind of get used to just seeing Siege, and you just get used to the same repetitive meta and everything like that. And I'm genuine when I say I do think this is some of the best meta we've ever seen. This is the most balanced we've ever seen map splits ever be in a competitive map pool. I mean, for me to come in the first week of groups and go, holy shit, I might actually have something to talk about here, instead of just repeating the whole, record scratching, this is a defensive sided map, this is a blah, blah, blah sided map. They now have to clear pixel. I mean, I'm so sick of saying the same things over and over again. You have to. 70% of the audience is casual, but that was the biggest thing that stood out for me, is I could enjoy the games, even as someone who's like seen it all already. I got to see new things, which is brilliant.
It's fun to see when like talking about the map balance, when that just gets close to 50, how much different the games are. Because the second that happens on every map, it takes like a week or two and people start saying that the maps are lacking, or that like attacker weapons are too strong, nades are too strong. Whatever happens when attack starts getting close to 50 feels so dominating from an attacking point of view. Because when you win, you slap, right? Like defenders have 3 ways of winning, whereas attackers only have 2. So as soon as you get close to 50, the actual rounds that are won feel a lot more dominating from attack. I'm kind of excited to see, like we have the LMGs, people want changed, the nades, but we also don't want gadgets that can be removed. It's like, tough spot.
Something I would be curious, and maybe these stats are available somewhere. Did we see more variety in operator composition at this invite compared to past events? I don't know what stat would accurately display that, but it kind of felt like that. To me, you can talk about like grenades jumped off the screen, LMGs jumped off the screen, but one of the things that really stuck out to me is I really felt like on attack and defense, to me, it felt like we saw more of the, pocket operators come out, and it didn't feel quite as rigid as normal. But I could be way off on that because, Dom, we're going to talk about frag grenades later in the show, and it seemed like, you were always seeing at least 6 frag grenades in a lineup, so there's only so many operators that can be. But just to me, it felt like there was more freedom in the compositions. But that's just kind of like a gut feeling, like an eye test.
Looking at the stats now that I took throughout the entirety of the tournament, and I mean, looking at like operator presence, we saw Osa from multiple teams there, Oxygen. I remember running a DZ, ran it on Coastline as well as Oxygen, I think. Osa was run by CAG on Oregon from memory. Then Capital, Zero, Nook, Ying, Lion, Jackal, Buck, Ace. I mean, like just going up my list of like picked. And then on defense, it's like there was multiple Wardens, Oryx, Frost, Vigil, Alibi. Yeah, multiple, never banned, who's the only operator outside of like a Rooney that I have that wasn't banned out of the pick list. A Rooney was never banned for some reason. I don't know why, even though it's popular in EU to ban it. I mean, there was a huge pick rate here of multiple operators. I think there's a few missing. I can't remember off the top of my head which ones are missing, but there is still a few missing. But yeah, maybe.
Did we see a Cav?
We did once, at least once. Yeah. The disrespect FaZe pulled it out against DZ. I'll never forget it.
Oh, no, okay, fair enough. That one sits close to home.
Yeah,
but you'll automatically have more different operators the longer we go as well, because there's just like it's harder and harder to make a ban that really has an impact, because like we're getting closer and closer to everything having a second option. Like, there's very few things like Kaid and Mav are like 2 of the only operators that you can't replace in that specific job. Right, like you cannot bandit a hatch. So if that's what, sure, but then you don't need a Thatcher. And the same with Mav, right? Like if you really want to get something open without having to go through all the steps, then that's your only option there. So it's really hard to make bans that truly have a big impact. And I think with the Oryx, it just took some time for people to realize that one dude you have who just sprints around all the time. Would be nice if you could change floor on some of the maps like Bank, for example, where there's so many hatches. It doesn't have to run up the 3 stairs that are always covered anyway. It just took a while to get there. I think the overlap in operators is gonna, like, we're never gonna see things be completely static again.
One
Also
thing,
because they were faster at reacting to nerfs and buffs.
one thing I thought was really encouraging is, I would say that Osa had an impact at Invite. I mean, she didn't have a high pick rate, but she did have an impact. And Flores had a huge impact at Invite. That's two year 6 operators that both had an impact at Invite, and that's a great sign.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me as well was that there was enough OSA strategies. And okay, you can call them pocket strats at that point because no one had seen OSA be played at that level yet. We'd only seen like CL or whatever from there onwards, and teams were bringing in a new strategy. So how credible this will be in the future, who knows? But I definitely think that the fact that OSA started getting banned against teams because they just didn't want to deal with post-plant situations with multiple shields and have to carry impacts late into the late round as well. I mean, there's so much counting you have to think about. That was really cool. The zero pick, like not being picked as much. I feel like teams are lazy. I don't know what it is, but I feel like laziness from teams when it comes to intel, like they're so used to what they usually do, being a flex or being that flank watch, that instead of moving over to zero, especially like on bank and stuff where you have the hard breach charge and you just ban Kaid instead, and they just don't do it. And I still feel like there's teams that are lagging behind what is going to be the optimal flank watch position, operator composition, etc. So that was a little disappointing for me because like I think like Nook and Ying and Lion were picked more than Zero was the entire tournament. So that's a bit sad in my opinion.
The Zero bothers me a lot as well because there are a lot of maps, and I don't think people are investing enough time into it, where you can put the cameras outside, open a couple barricades, and you can see the entire flank anyway. And it is impossible for that defender to ever find that cam. It is so immensely strong. And we've seen it like, I think the best we've seen from comp so far has been them up in the palm trees in bank, like looking through the windows. And even that is insanely rare. And it's like the least creative thing, right?
Yeah.
You could, like on Oregon, you could put it on the water tower. It can look in and see the rotation into kids and into attic. On bank as well, you can put it outside the like the double door by skylight.
For terrace, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you can see everything. And that isn't being used more for the flank is a little bit meh. But then again, I guess you can argue that a vigil could see past and you'd never know because it's too far away.
That's so specific though.
Yeah.
Like if you really get good at that, you could ban Vigil. I know it's not a massive ban, but at
Vigil
least
was only picked 8%. 8% of the entire tournament. And if you're worried about that 8%, you're probably a shit team.
And also, you're not going to find out that you're being spotted by zero cams in Narnia before you rewatch the match.
Yeah, I agree. And no one gets the thing, the files, just so people are aware. I think people think that they get the match replays and stuff. So after the match happens, everyone's like, oh, they'll get the match replay files. Do you really think Ubisoft is that nice? Do you really think they're that nice that they're going around teams going, here's the match replay, here you go, here you go.
That would be insanely unfair if you actually had the full thing. Can you imagine you just played a match and you get your next match in like 4 to 5 hours and you can sit and watch a full top-down view of all the games prior? Nah, fam.
Nope.
That takes away like half a team's creativity.
From the results standpoint, obviously TSM world champions. Congrats to them.
Congrats to them.
As a NA fan, obviously the Sweden major was rough for NA. Did NA redeem themselves at this at Invite?
I think there were multiple teams that coming out of NA were some of my favorites. And I'm not sort of like a very, sort of, what do you call it when you're loyal to a sort of certain country? I'm not it, so I don't know what the word is. But yeah, whatever that loyalist or royalist or whatever it's called, I don't even know. Whatever that word is, I'm not that. But I tell you what, it almost felt like I was American based off a lot of the teams I thought would do well and I wanted to do well. Oxygen was one of them. TSM, after seeing their first few really good showings, I was like, oh my God. Like, no one live droned as good as TSM did. And the moment I saw that, because as a coach, I fundamentally, philosophically believe that that is how you should roam clear. 9 times out, you should have 2 live droners. They should both have drones in pocket from spawn. That 2 players should follow a drone within 3 seconds. Blah, blah, blah. I have this like whole philosophy, and there's a lot of players that aren't disciplined enough to do that. But to watch Merc, without fail, hit that 3-second round after round after round, I was like, this team deserves to win because they played the game at the most optimal level that role should be played, and no one else does it like them. So when I saw TSM do that, I really wanted them to win.
I think LATAM stood out with how consistently they can play so goddamn fast.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get how they managed to do it, because there was so many times where it looks like they're about to lose the round within like 20 seconds of going into the building, and they end up winning anyway because they just keep the pace up. It was so enjoyable and hectic to watch. And I wish we had like an English version of the comms, just so you know if is this just really good trained teamwork and they're just used to refragging, or is the information actually like going down the line when this happens? Because I have no idea. I don't know if half of these things are actually being communicated, or if they just played that well together that they just flood sight and just know where they have to look. I'm finding it insanely hard to believe that they're that quick to explain everything they want to do and how they want to do it. And there's such a big difference in some of their takes. Like, okay, the way they entry, all of that stuff looks fairly similar every round, right? But the execute is a hectic mess and beautiful to watch. Like watching FaZe just, there was a round where I think they became 3v5 like 30 seconds in and kept the speed up, and boom, and now it's a 2v2 and they win convincingly the 2v2, right? Like that should never happen, but some teams just didn't have the time to move players around, didn't really adjust. They're sitting there confident that we're still good because we have man count, and then man count just dwindles until it's a 2v2 and they think, shit. That was really enjoyable for me to watch.
I think standing there, having listened to the comms, I mean, we weren't really allowed to be near the players. So like I would sort of like go right up to the curtain and like listen over it. Cause like on the next part is like the command center or whatever they were calling the desk for this event. And so I would like stand there and listen. And obviously mostly to try and hear how scrambled the comms were, because you want to know who's calling, who's the IGL, try and make a note of it on the desk. And 9 times out of 10, I mean, when I listened to FaZe, there was a lot of cameraman. A lot of cameraman. Just no one really else. Like it was just sounded like they were doing call outs. I don't know what they were saying, but it sounded like single or 2-word call outs that they would interject. And the rest was cameraman. And whether they're like, it's just him calling the entire time what they need to do and shot calling, or whether or not it's just, I don't even know if it's just call outs and they just bounce off of each other. But yeah, a lot of one person calling, at least for FaZe that I heard.
Yeah, I think it'd be impossible for them to like have more accurate calls than left corner, right? With how fast they move. So I don't know. I'd love to have like a full round translated just to see.
Watching DZ versus FaZe was very. It was like seeing polar opposites. You know, watching the progress that DZ would make in a clear when they're on attack, and where, you know, it may have been Oregon, I want to say, but where that they started getting pressure on Freezer and Oregon at, you know, 45 seconds in the round. FaZe was there at like 2 minutes left in the round. And granted, you know, I'm sure they're not doing the exact same take. It's not apples to apples necessarily, but it was really striking to see the difference there in the pacing of the rounds.
I suppose it just goes down to the point of we don't know what the right formula is for an attacking round.
Sure.
Like, especially with the meta changing and whatnot. Like, DZ disappointed me greatly. I'm so sorry. DZ disappointed me greatly because they held on to what I still think is a great way of playing the game by using every second in the round, by, you know, step by step, 1, 2, 3, we're getting through it all and we do whatever we have to and adapt to whatever we have to finish each of those steps and then get to the point and plan. Unfortunately, it's almost like the rigidity of that is seemingly too hard for teams to like come up with these like micro adaptations throughout the round in order to achieve them. And so that philosophy that I truly believe in looks crap because players can't move away from the step-by-step that they've been given. If a little problem or a little speed bump arises, there's this speed bump in front of them. It looks like a fucking mountain to them. And so I don't know whether or not, like, I don't want to blame the players. Obviously, that's a coaching issue if you can't get your players to, you know, do micro adaptations and stuff like that. But I think that's the biggest thing that we saw is that fast attacks like Latin American attacks can work really well because they don't let the speed bump stop them. They just go over it and they, you know, go to the next hurdle, etc. But deep down, I still fundamentally believe using every second in the round will reap you more consistent results. So I like what DZ has philosophically. Do I think that how it shows on screen is pretty? Absolutely not. It wasn't. It really wasn't.
Hey, we beat world champs. I don't want to hear you. We 2-0. Or no, it was 2-1. So technically, I'm joking. I know that. No,
so as a result,
there's still like a couple other players out there. If it wasn't for the rule system, we would have won everything.
No, I get you, and this is awesome. I'm appreciating this insight from both of you guys. Do we want to move on to the year 7 stuff now?
Sure.
Because
the exciting stuff.
Yeah, the stuff that's in game. Let's maybe start with the season. Demon Veil. That was the first reveal that we got. New operator, Azami, insane. Some are saying the most meta change, or the most the operator that's ever been introduced in the game with the most possibilities, I think, is a fair way of wording it. We don't know how she's going to affect the meta yet, but there's definitely possibilities there. So along with that, we're going to be getting a new map midway through the season. And Deathmatch is coming with the season as well. So what were your big takeaways with Demon Veil?
Sheesh, where do you start? I mean, downloaded right now. We're jumping on stream, for the next day. We'll jump on stream and I'm going to insta-lock Azami like every round. And they're like, yeah, we know what you want to do. We know you want to try it and obviously show the audience what it's about. But for me, fundamentally, the reason I wanted to try it so much was not from a content creation standpoint. It was from the whole point of like, we have a certain meta on defense, whether it's plant denial or whether it's early aggression or whatever it is. And now we have this like in-between operator that can do a little bit of both and is also a reactionary operator with reactionary utility. And I don't know an operator that we have in the lineup on defense that can be put into like 3 different categories. I truly believe after the day of playing her, and it's only a day, so I might disagree with myself in a week, but I truly believe that she is a reactionary operator that can work from the start of the round to the very end of the round. And the way that I used her throughout that day was incredible. It was incredible, the kind of outcomes that happened in multiple rounds I had never achieved before with any other operator. And I don't think I ever will. So I truly do think that this operator is the most exciting that we've had ever. For sure.
I'm just hyped about how much you'll be able to abuse it if you compare it with certain things, because we don't have anything on defense that can close off something for attackers for a certain amount of time, like without already having it up.
Yes.
So now you could stop a Monty that pushes in by blocking the door and smoking him. And someone else has to punch that because Monty can't drop his shield. You can, when people go for a plant, throw a smoke out and maybe they push sight and you can throw one of those, or whether it's a Chenka or a Shuriken thingy. Like, just the dynamic like decisions you can make, or someone drops a hatch and you close it off for the rest.
Yeah.
Even those 3 melee hits will completely destroy the attackers if they go for a quick push. Or if you roam with her. Like the idea that you can get spotted and let's say you're in kid's bedroom and you're afraid that they're going to push that door. You block off the door real quick and you have time to make a decision. You don't just instantly have to drop the hatch, right? You can stay there and fight a bit longer, because if I'm 1v1 against her and the spider web goes on a door, I don't want to punch that thing because I don't know like how much of my toes can be seen.
Yep.
Is someone swinging? I also really like putting it on a window and wait. Like people run over and they punch it once, twice, and I'll punch it the 3rd time and then jump out. Like, people are insanely confused when that happens, right? Because you're expecting people to either be ready to shoot or further away or something. There's just so many abilities. On Clubhouse, you can put them on the triple boxes in the back, and now you can move around freely in Armory without ever having to worry about the hallway. So many lines of sight can be cut, and you want to trade it? Sure, use a Gon 6 from 9 million meters away, but then you're going to struggle with a Meister Cam or something else later on, right? It's insanely good. Yeah.
And what she's made me realize, just in the short time I played her on the test server, is like when you're looking at a round of Siege, like say Clubhouse, a cache defense, there's these like typical setups that you'll see, And there are rules that you may not even ever consciously thought about that govern how you go about playing that round, both on defense and attack. And I really think that she changes those rules. For example, holding rafters and garage. She can plug the 2 gaps in the rafters. Now, granted, you can still nade it out up there. It depends on what kind of setup they had up there. But what does that change if the person playing up in rafters doesn't have to worry about the gaps in the walls of the rafters? You know, and that's just one little small example right there. I'm really excited to see the possibilities here. You know, I think other than like, well, and I don't know, we don't know how it's going to play out, but I think that on the surface, the least effective way of using her, in my opinion, has been to plug like a thermite hole, unless it's like super late round scenario. You know, that could work if there's like 15 seconds left and they open a wall and you can plug it. Sure, yeah, absolutely, that's going to have a huge impact. But I think the thing that's jumping out to me right now is creating off angles and just different lines of sight that have never existed in the game before.
Yeah, see, whereas I've played it differently to that. See, I've had people in Oregon set up on Chico Spot and obviously have that tiny little pixel from the top of it where the tip of their head shows and they're peeking out towards blue barrels. And I'm like, bro, that's ratty as hell. But the moment I drone it, I already know that there's one spot of their head and I just shoot them and they die. And they're like, oh, the pixel peek doesn't work. I'm like, yeah, because it's obvious what you're doing. I mean, it's predictable after 2 goes of it. But I was using it, I truly think it's more reactionary. Where she will be best, because it's a, what do we call them, Wamais, where it refreshes? What's the terminology for that?
Cooldown?
Yeah, where she has the cooldown of the Keybers. She is not going to be effective from the get-go, but when I played her in Pig, or people know Attic of Oregon, every time I would stand like right in the precipice of the vault between Pig and Attic hatch, and every time they opened up Attic window and Kids window, I just kept keybering it over and over. Like I would wait late round for it over and over and over. So every time they try to hold the white from the rappel, I would peek from the broken keybar on Attic window. Then they would break the one on Kids window, and they were trying to nade me out from there. And every time I placed the keybar, grenades would bounce back and kill themselves and stuff. So I'm just there by myself holding on to Attic with like 4 keybers that I've got as the round progresses. I truly think that was the most frustrating that team had probably ever played against an Azami as a result. So I think but people will find it different, obviously, in ranked and pro league and stuff, but I think that at the top level they will. Yeah.
Like I feel someone did that on Attic as well. They threw it on the window and I was fused that round, and nothing ever felt better than putting a closet charge in that and knowing you're safe.
Yep.
Oh, that was so nice.
That's true. Yeah. Was it being bulletproof? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. You're safe. Well, I mean, unless they impact their C4, but then that goes with everything.
Yeah.
But it's a really interesting gadget. And I think the more we get of this, the more personality or identity or whatever you want to call it, we're going to see with teams. Because some teams are going to be really good at some of these operators and really invest a lot of time into it. And I hope we don't end up where everyone just kind of does the same. There are so many options now. You can truly have your own playstyle. And I'm not buying the argument that anyone is smart enough to figure out what the best one is. Mm-hmm. Like, it seems for a very long time we've had really good teams set a standard and everyone else chases it. Instead of making their own thing and making that work. That's one of the things I really like about watching Dark Zero, for example, is that they stick with it whether it works or not. Like sometimes it's really
Enough
good.
beating up on Dark Zero, guys. Come on, I'm right here. Okay.
And then you see Danwon Kia, they have their like way of playing, right? You see FaZe, like there's some personality to the teams and how they do their stuff. It's not just a carbon copy of the next team and the next team and the next team. I really hope we get to see that a lot. And then Goyo is absolutely terrifying.
It's crap and good at the same time. Like, let's be honest, it is at one end of the spectrum and then it's also at the other end of the spectrum. Like, how do you explain this to someone?
I think it's only good. I think it's only good.
No.
I don't know.
Every Goyo crappy box I've seen, I've shot from like 30 meters away.
But it's not about that. It's the 20 seconds that you get for free.
That is a long time.
It is a super long time.
That is, I can see it going both ways. Like what Jess said, like I can see it going either way. being really good or like really bad? Because
It's C4 and a vector.
The
Like,
C4 is
on
the
the
only
pa-
redeeming factor for me.
On paper, that can just not be bad, right? Like,
right, right.
even with no gadget, he can have a positive impact. But you can place, if you go bank and printer window, for example, in open area.
Yep.
If you place your canister on the barricade,
Yep.
and they break the barricade, the canister auto blows, right?
Yep.
So you can place these barricades or these canisters in any barricade in the game. Just that alone, that when a barricade breaks, you are forced 20 seconds where the attacker cannot push.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a lot to start with, but from the start of the round, how many rounds go down to like 20 seconds? Wasting 80 seconds on random spots in the map, or even just having them places where you'd otherwise impact anyway, to give you that extra time, put them on walls that are going to be hot breach, like bank on the default spot where you always breach. Just put it there. When it gets breached, you have 20 seconds of knowing that they can't plant.
Yeah.
Then you get your smoke.
Maybe I didn't think of it like that. The only
Because I'm
area
so
I
smart.
see it, yeah, because you're just 7,000 IQ. Yeah, that's exactly right. No, I'd forgotten that. But I think that's the only area where I would find him to be useful. Is on the barricades, on the breaches, on banks specifically. That's obviously a very key area because there's a lot of funneling that is done there and predictability. So yes, in that regard, sure. I actually think that if they're going to do anything, they would have to nerf the way that interacts. For example, if a barricade breaks and it's stuck to the barricade, instead of it exploding, it would drop to the floor. It would require a bullet activation. So that is a nerf that you would be able to.
If they do that, I think they will neuter him into the ground. Because you
so he's only useful for the point upon which you were saying.
Yeah, where the attackers have to break them. Also, you could put them on freezer hatch in Oregon. The timing where people actually go there to start opening it, 20 seconds where you have to destroy that and then do something, or you destroy it but you can't really peek it because there's fire everywhere. That allows the person or the player in freezer to always back off safely.
Yeah, that's true. Even if you put it on their side, the only way for them to clear it is to explode it. There's no way of clearing it without exploding it. That's an interesting.
It's either going to blow first and they're going to wait and then mav it, or let's say they mav it and then, because it does no damage on when it blows up, like none. The explosion thing is I think actually 0 damage, but the fire does a lot.
Yes.
So if you sit there and mav it and it blows, you have to run away. You can't sit at the edge and peek and get ready to frag that guy because you'll be like 20 HP even if you survive it, right?
Yeah.
I just think that the attack being forced to have to deal with it is enough to make it decent. Because it's time, you don't have to put yourself in danger to win those time points, right? Where smoke, you have to be in a certain spot.
Yeah. As long as you don't have to be there to activate it as a defender, I can see the viability of changing my composition to implement Goyo as a flex instead of something else. Because you got to all think about the shield. Yeah,
right?
so
they can't remove them without burning. They have to blow.
So that's the only area I will accept that Goyo can be added compositionally to tier 1. That is the only one. Any other argument is probably not good enough.
What about the Maestro Goyo combo with being able to? Do you don't think that's that? Because they'll clear the evil eye.
Maybe at lower levels that's going to work friggin' crazy. Honestly, that will work crazy good. It will. But yeah.
You can. So we tried experimenting with something on Villa default plant by the vault, right? You know the vault door that's open. You run in there. If you put one of those spider web thingies. What are they called again?
The barriers.
Kivas.
Kiva barrier. Yeah.
If you put one of those on the side there, so it like blocks it off, so it becomes a slanted thing instead, and you have a Goyo.
What the hell?
Yeah.
What are you doing in your games, bro? You're like
See, this is
architect.
Beautiful. So they cannot come in there and plant without breaking that first, right? And you have your Goyo gadget right behind it. So when they break it, it's 20 seconds of them again not being able to plant. And they have to back out. So it's very easy to see for them now because they are 100% on the soft floor because they don't want to run back out in like a 4-way crossfire with 90 and top red, and like they're in a pretty shitty spot. They have case there and you have someone playing underneath. You are 99% guaranteed to know where they're going to be sitting, at least with case. Because they're not going to remove that barricade unless they intend to plant there. They're not going to use explosives to remove that. And it doesn't cost you that much because you're going to have your C4 on Goyo anyway. You might as well be playing somewhere. And one of those barricades, even if they nade it, they can't do anything. They can't rush site for 20 seconds. It's so much safety.
Yeah.
I think it's insanely good.
How many does he get now?
4.
4. And 20 seconds
I thought
fire.
It was 3.
And 20 seconds of fire.
I'm sorry, but think about AVG. Think about Aviator and Games on thing. And every single access point, I have a Goyo fucking stupid thing on there.
Yeah.
You're telling me that every single entranceway, in some way, shape, or form, can have 20 seconds worth of flames ready to go. That is, I thought it was 3, so excuse my ignorance here. I think there should be 3 keepers as well, obviously, but, you know, that's probably not as intense a conversation as this Goyo one should be, because that's ridiculous.
I think Goyo is stronger than her.
Yeah. If we think about the late round problems that attackers are still having, even as we move into attacking meta, and we think about 20 full seconds with the radius being quite intense and the damage being quite intense. Remember when Capitao was changed? Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. And you used to sit in Consulate in Cubby, top floor, and someone from the window could shoot it in the right-hand side across from the hatch, and it would spread all the way over to the hatch. You couldn't hide. Yeah. You would have to drop the hatch. At that point, that was so intense that we had to get rid of it. That we had to get rid of Goyo, Capitao in that capacity. This is what will happen to Goyo now that he has 4.
Yeah, you can even put them in blue or elbow in Oregon if you just place them, because blowing one. They
have to destroy them. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't do damage to each other, right? So they don't daisy chain. You can't put if you put 3 against each other, I can shoot 1, and wait 20 seconds. Shoot the other. Wait 20 seconds.
Wow.
So they don't blow the next one up. Then you can say, oh yeah, but they can get them with a nade. Sure, but they can get the smoke who's playing behind the shield with 15 ADSs and 2 MIs with a nade as well. Mm-hmm. Why not just have Goyo play behind there? You have 80 seconds. It's longer than smoke. He doesn't have to drop his gun to throw them. He keeps his gun up. He just has to flick over and shoot one. And he has a C4.
Okay, no. Here's what they should do. It should not be allowed to stick to walls. It should only be allowed to clamp into the ground. Interesting. It should only be allowed to clamp into the ground. The reason I say this avoids the, you put a thermite on the wall, you don't know it's there for whatever reason, you drone shitty, whatever, there's a mute jam or whatever. You open up the wall and all of a sudden these fucking flames start coming at you and you're like, what the hell? If we force the interaction to only be allowed in the ground and that there is no other interaction that can happen, we instantly avoid at least 50% of these overpowered situations whereby you might be able to stack in a certain spot and someone can deal with it early on with utility.
Yeah, but you can still put 4 of them.
Sure, right, but if you don't maybe go on 6 or grenade or something in that area and attempt to try and deal with multiple of them at once, or avoid the area altogether because they've decided to stack, as some people do with elbow now, then that's your own fault. I think you should be punished for that either way. But if we limit the amount of interactions in one round one utility can have an outcome with, then we are giving that operator and utility a purpose. I always thoroughly believe that utility should have a driven purpose each round. It should not have a multifaceted thought process going behind one piece of utility, one operator that I have to think about when I also have to think about 4 other operators and the timer and my teammates and a drone. There's too much going on. This game's already difficult enough.
Wait, that's interesting. What counts as multi-purpose for you?
For example, I don't know, let's say Mute was multifaceted, multi-purpose. When he could deny an entire double wall, and he could deny drones in the drone hole as well. I can see why they made the decision to make the change to the way that his mute jammer interacts with the wall, because now you still have an opportunity. And, of course, you are worried about the fact that it can be droned and all. But I get so many mute jammers that I can be multifaceted, I'm multi-purposed all at once. It made his pick rate jump exponentially. Heaps of people were picking mute for a very long time, outside of the fact that if you didn't, it was because you wanted smoke with the shield for plant and all.
Also, you got the SMG-11.
Yeah.
And in gold, you can still mute trick walls, and people haven't figured out that. I'm serious. Oh, no. I hate to say it, but you can still put one mute jammer on a double wall, and people will struggle to open it.
How many things can Goyo do is my question. How many things, whilst also having very powerful piece of utility, and 4 of them that I might need to worry about in one singular round? I'm not talking about the gadget as a whole, but in one round, how many interactions can that one piece of utility do? I have a problem if it's like 2 or 3, or even 3. If I have to worry about 3 different interactions, I might undertake with that one Goyo explosion, or whatever they're calling it now. Vulcan box. If I can open a barricade, be flamed off. If I can grenade an area, be flamed off. If I can open a hard wall and be flamed off, how much is it until we've gone too far down that road?
I don't think that's fair, because like, you should know what's on the other side before you do it, or you should be safe when you do it. Otherwise, I feel like that's a mistake from the argument that you would open the wall without knowing what's on the other side. Then what stops someone from having a C4?
Because now that we have the indicator that there's mute there, or it with the thing, you were going to go into elbow. Let's say it's double reinforced off. You lean right against the wall. No mute jammer showing up at the bottom of my screen. I open it.
Yeah.
How is that fair that I maybe couldn't go through the drone hole because there's a mute jammer on the other side?
No, but when you thermite it, you're not going to be standing against the wall.
No, you'd stand back a bit, but as the radius pushes towards you.
No. It's not gonna like hunt you down the hallway.
No, of course not. But like, what I'm saying is that's gonna bunch you all up towards box, which at that point you already opened up box on the left-hand side to get the angle over towards double.
But a C4 would have killed you.
What do you mean?
If someone threw a C4.
This is what I'm saying is you're asking for a quantity of unknown reactions of one utility in one round. I'm not worried about the reaction of that at that moment. Let's say the only thing you could do is stick it to reinforcements. Then yes, so that makes total sense. But it's not the only thing it can do now. That's my problem, is that regardless of the map, I might run into 4 different Vulcans doing 4 different things for 4 different outcomes, which I think is a little bit too many, because we have a very complex game already. And I think that is a step too far, that something powerful shouldn't be able to also achieve so many different outcomes.
I just think you can make that argument with most gadgets. And also it comes at a massive trade-off, because the defender can't push you either.
It is kind of like a stalemate in a way.
It can really hurt defenders as well, yeah.
But I mean, you would think that wasting time, defenders play into that.
Unless you're in a 1v3 and you had an option to push out, and now the ground's on fire and you're stuck.
Sure.
Right? Like,
that's so specific, hurt people, though. Yeah, I
don't know. Do we see maybe, Twitch, already an operator that's got so much value right now, her value is going to be, go up a little bit more. Maybe this pushes 0 a little bit forward. I don't know how realistic is it for to clear them with a 0. I'm not sure, but it could be something that we see for sure. I'm interested to see how it plays out. I think hearing you guys talk about it, I could see it definitely having an impact at the higher levels. I'm not sure for the average player, because I think what slaps you in the face with is, I put this here, and then when the timing's right, I shoot it, and then it explodes. And hopefully it progresses a little bit more than that, and we'll see how it plays out. What about as I'm sitting here thinking about this season, like one-time scopes. Everybody has access to all the one-times. Deathmatch. There's so much coming. I think personally, everybody having access to all the one-times is one of the best quality of life changes we've ever seen in this game.
I mean, it should have just been there anyway. Agreed. Like, anyone who said that it shouldn't have been there is like one of those sweaty ash mains that is like angry that some other operator now has the same one-time scope they do for whatever reason. Can't even think of who that might be, but for whatever reason, they don't like the Cybertruck, as they shouldn't. And they want something on another gun, whatever, and they now don't have that tiny incremental advantage that they had before. I mean, anyone who cares is just...
I think it would be they're going to be surprised, like, how few of their scopes are actually good.
Yeah.
Like I never cared if it was there or not.
Bro, are you an A or B hollow player?
Oh, no, that's what happens to chat settings as well. But I will say, like, the reflex change they did to whatever reflex B or C or the Russian one. I don't care what they're called. The good one.
Yeah.
The stuff they did to the good one to make it not good seems weird. it was such a good site for such a long time, and I don't really care what the reasoning or explanation is behind why it was done. It's just like, just take the loss and accept that it was a nice site that people really wanted to use. Now they're plastering it on everything. Instead of making that site shit, or make some of the other ones a bit nicer, right? Like,
Which one?
we don't need all of them.
Well,
Like, we don't need 500 different sites in game. We just need a few ones that are nice and comfortable to use. The hollow
Why
site
is the
still not
red
as
dot
good as
crap? The red dot would be the best site in the game if the housing and the dot wasn't so crap. Like, that's my biggest criticism.
new red
is
dot
that
or
we
old
all-
red dot?
I mean, new red dot is obviously better, but it's still not at the point. I would say that it could be out to be really good. Like, I think I like Zoranic's argument because what he's essentially saying is that my interpretation of it is that we have good sites that just need touch-ups to being like remember when Clubhouse got like remade and we're like, this is the best competitive map in the game now. It didn't need an overhaul. We just need tiny little fixes to the red dot or the holographic A, B, or C, whatever it's freaking called now. I'm never going to remember, I'll tell you that much. The housing needs to be skinnier or it needs to zoom in or out a little bit. Just these tiny little changes. If they focused on that instead of making people choose between 12 different scopes that everyone's asking, which one's the best? What do you mean, which one's the best? They all do the same thing. They all zoom at the same zoom. You just have to
even
pick a
reticle.
preference.
Like, even reticle size, I like the red dot. I don't even care about the housing, and also there's some technical issue with seeing as it's 3D modeled. The only way they can change stuff is by moving the field of view. Like, they have to move the camera model of the gun, right?
Yeah.
Or they can move the sight further up on the rail on the gun, but that'll look really funky on some things if you have your scope like all the way at the front of the rifle. But they could make the reticle so it's not 15 times bigger than the thing I'm trying to shoot at.
Yeah.
Because there are times where you're trying to hold the tightest little angle and you can't see if anyone's actually there.
Yep.
So I have to aim low and then
Yes.
wait for someone to come in and then go boop. And I'm too old, so I can't do that.
Yeah.
I'd like to be able to see.
My hot take is that I think we're going to see Vortex. I guess it would be Hollow B, maybe? I don't know.
Hollow B,
The Mozzie Vortex. The Mozzie Vortex.
yeah.
I think that's what we're going to see take over as the most popular site in the game. I like New Red Dot. I agree with you, Jess. I think it could be better, and I don't understand why it isn't.
That's my question.
But I guess here's the thing. Maybe the devs don't care about site variety, and they're just like, listen, we understand that there are some sites that are better than others. So here you go. You have them all now. Pick what you want and just go to town. We don't really care.
They 100% did that. They only put them in to stop us from bitching. 100%.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, to be fair, they added the what is it called, Cybertruck or whatever people are calling it. And they added that to some guns and willingly thought that would be a good replacement for other sites. And the fact that anyone thought that is ridiculous.
No. They did it to nerf.
You think so? You think design me? Do you think they went to the boardroom and were like, design me a site that will suck?
Yes. Do you really think they did that?
No. Wait. So you make your sites, right? And you move them around, and you'll definitely get data. We cannot argue that changing sites has impact on performance on the guns.
For sure.
Like, we've seen that. We've talked to dudes, right? So we know that when people are like, oh yeah, but changing this site won't do anything, and like Alibi's gun needed a 1.5 before anyone realized it was decent. And sure, zoom level, maybe, but there are guns that people don't really want to run because of the sights.
For sure. Yeah.
Loki doesn't want to run Sledge Cybertruck, but he'd love to run Sledge Hollow. So it works as a nerf. It has a very, very big impact if you look at the numbers.
Why did you take all that time to make a site when, hear me out here, this could be freaking revolutionary, just take away the magnification to begin with. Like, if you really wanted someone to stop picking it for that reason.
Jumping between different one-times are not going to help. They give the magnification to put a gun in the light so people start using it, and then they take it away. Same thing that happened with Alibi and Frost. Well, I mean, that's what they did.
We're laughing because it's true.
I mean,
they put it on Frost and Alibi because people are sitting there going, oh, it's a shit gun. They get a one-times, they start loving it. They take away the 1.5, and people are like, oh, yeah, I guess it's still a good gun.
Right. Yeah, no,
we are so dumb when it comes to figuring out what actually works, man.
I didn't think this. Listen, I think that this is a good change. I'm happy it's here. I think it should have been done a long time ago, and it would have relieved a lot of frustration.
But we're here.
Yep.
We did it.
Deathmatch.
Don't
I
care,
haven't
but it's
played
cool.
it.
You haven't played it? Okay.
I haven't played it, and the reason I didn't is because I was obsessed with his army. But is it good?
It's the best way to warm up. It's gonna be. I mean, it is so much more efficient way to
How do you
warm
spawn?
up.
Am I getting trapped? Because if I'm getting trapped, I'm hating this mode.
You're not getting trapped, but you do have spawn protection. You don't get me wrong. There will be times whenever you spawn and there's an enemy right beside you and you die within 2 seconds. But when you spawn, before you move, you do have a few seconds of spawn protection, and that you're invincible. So if they're aiming down sights and you appear and you don't move, they'll just shoot and you'll be invincible for at least a couple seconds. But it brings me to this point, which is say, if you go into deathmatch with the sense that I want to win and I want a 2 KD, you're probably going to be a little disappointed. But if you're just saying, I want to work on my mechanics and warm up, it is such a good place for that.
They should make it 3v3. 5v5 is too much for Siege maps to have.
Okay.
Or 4v4 maybe.
Okay.
Their Siege is not meant to have 5 people alive at all times in the map. It's too hectic. There's too many. But I'm happy it's there. I'm never gonna use it. No, it's Theme Park Villa.
They picked the big maps good.
Favela.
Yeah,
Park Villa and Favela.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, one thing
it's okay.
One thing they announced in the year 7 roadmap is that they're making, I believe in season 3, a TDM only map. And I personally view that as a big mistake. Because I think, I think that one of the best benefits for deathmatch is that a new player can go into this environment and learn the map as they're learning the mechanics. They're learning Villa, they're learning Favela, they're learning where the staircases are, they're learning the loadout, they're learning what's soft because you can bring impacts and stuff like that. It's a really great way to learn the maps. So why take that away by throwing a TDM only map in? I understand it might play out better for TDM, but I guess that comes back to the goal. Is the goal to have a really good TDM mode, or a goal that, or is the goal to have a mode that helps prepare players for ranked or unranked or quick match?
I have a very recent experience of playing a different game mode in a different game I was learning in the past year and a half, upon which that game mode introduced me to being very prepared to then going into unrated and then ranked and so on and so forth. And having that singular, small, very swift game mode that had no strings attached essentially, but on the maps upon which I would, come against in ranked and everything, was hugely beneficial. So I'm 50-50 on it, because Siege has a very less pew-pew oriented goal. There's objective, tactical, FPS, with FPS being the last, phrase of the game's intent, at least from my understanding. And if you take a map that is like TDM friendly with lanes, so if you focus on map development from a laneage perspective, I used to be a competitive Call of Duty player years back, and that was the big goal, was to have lane and lane separation and derivatives of that. I'm wondering whether or not for Siege and the developers right now, they're saying we want to do laneage, but laneage doesn't work for an objective tactical perspective. So if we added that to the game, we're actually going into the problems we had with, I don't know, original Outback, for example. It was a shit map to attack. The new Outback's great, right? So if you make a separate map, it's going to be fun for TDM, but isn't conducive. I actually don't see that as the end of the world, because they will prescribe to those map design philosophies that have worked when it comes to TDM modes in all different games.
Yeah, I don't think TDM has to teach you the maps. Just because I don't think you learn the roots of how you can move, but you don't learn the map. The map in Siege is not just knowing where the stairs are and all of that. It's knowing where can you be at what times in the round, what angles are going to be held and stuff like that. And none of that transfers to comp or ranked or casual. None of it. Because no one is going to be sitting with a deployable shield, a frost trap, a maestro cam, and have you drone in and stuff like that. You're running into a room, shooting someone that is already sprinting in a hallway. No one is in positions that in any way relate to what actually happens. And I think siege maps are actually horrible for TDM. So I'd love to see some TDM maps where I can go in and focus on like just warming up the mechanics, right? Because right now, I think the siege maps are getting in the way of warming up your mechanics. If that makes sense. I think the sprinting around the stairs and all of that and having people just flood over everywhere has nothing to do with what I'll actually see in game. So I'd rather have it a little bit clearer in the TDM aspect.
Yeah, but like right now, like, okay, if I'm playing deathmatch on Villa, I can go and play 90. And I can literally play 90 with the defender that I could be in that scenario with in a real game, and I can listen to the sound cues. I can, prepare myself for the angles that I'm going to face in game. And I think that what you said about learning the map is more than just learning where the staircases is. That is a very valid point. But for a true beginning player, like you got to learn one before the other. You know what I mean? Like it's all of that. And I think that I personally think that deathmatch will be the most efficient way for a new player to get in and learn the routing of a map. You know, not
efficiency is the key there.
But
I think you'll be surprised. We should
how many minutes between when you die in a normal game, whether it's casual or ranked? Yeah, but how many minutes between I'm in 90, someone repels up 90, kills me? How many minutes do I have to wait between that learning, like that learning moment I just had then, between when I might next get my next learning moment in that exact spot, at that exact, like I can have that.
Watching your teammates in that time than you will from deathmatch.
But you shouldn't be learning then. You shouldn't be watching your teammates. You should be on camps.
If you're new,
If we're looking at those mechanics.
No, I don't think that's fair. Because if you're a new player, you shouldn't be on camps. Not necessarily. I think new players, it's important to look at what people do and learn from them.
Sure, but
because you won't be able to give good info. You don't know the map. There's one here
now for accessibility.
Sure. That's going to confuse new players even more. There's one here. People start spinning in circles because they're looking for where the ping is. I don't think that's beneficial. Like, most people enjoy learning. They just want to do it as fast as possible.
Correct.
There's an
so is it
immense... No, because I don't
efficient?
think learning as fast as possible is the goal. I think
but at least to begin with foundation.
Yeah, but I don't think
I'm talking about very, very minimal foundation, because I went through this recently and I would have agreed with you until I did that.
I played COD as well, and I played COD like not professionally, but like on a team. We at a decent level, right? And the same with Battlefield. That in none of those games has TDM ever taught you anything about comp, ever.
No,
you get good,
but
at
about
aiming,
the battleground upon which I'm standing. And recently with Val, for example, that was my biggest entry into learning those maps was Spike Rush. 100% was that game mode. And I've lived through it. I've lived through it. So I would have agreed with you had I have not lived through it. I think I would have.
But you don't know the alternative, right? Like, you learned Siege really well. Like, we all did.
Sugar Rush would be our only. Sugar Rush would be their only peek into a deathmatch.
Yeah, that was actually an old. That was an old actual Rainbow Six Vegas map or something that was redone.
Was it? Okay. Yeah.
We just don't know the alternative. That's my point. Like, we learn new maps all the time in comp, in ranked, right? Or we go into custom and we sit down. None of what I have ever seen in a TDM, like, at no point. I assume if it can help new players, it should be able to help experienced players as well. With all the TDM I've played in the test servers, I've not learned anything about any map. It's too hectic, it's too fast, there's not enough time. You can't truly learn something in those like 5-10 seconds that you're alive. You can stand in one spot and fight left and right, sure. But does that help you?
Does it have death replay?
No. No, you just get you just get like a free cam whenever you die.
There's no one outside. There's no windows being full. There's no gadgets at all. There are no drones. Like, you're never getting pinged. You never have to deal with any real utility. Sure, there's nades and impacts and stuff like that. But I think you're doing a disservice in terms of learning if you don't learn the steps there. Right?
I agree that there should be a very specific learning curve that people take. And I would prefer if it was in a certain order. But unfortunately, like, we don't have, especially with how the game's been laid out for the past 6-7 years, we don't have the option of giving the learning steps in the chronological order we should, because there is not the learning priority in Siege at the moment. I hope Ubisoft does it. Obviously, recently you and I did videos. In fact, we all did videos to help aid with people to learn that. And so obviously I'm hoping that, you know, there's more of that to come. But
If we
right
all
now with
started
what
now,
we've got, do we really have the option of being able to help people learn chronologically from the ground up? No.
if we all started now, would you guys have started with TDM or would you have started with casual or quick play? It's just saying we know nothing about it. What would you have clicked on? Because
The
I think I
fastest
would have
game
clicked
mode
on.
with no strings attached. Like I don't want any elo attached. I want nothing. I want to see.
I think it depends on where you come from. I think if you're a Call of Duty player and you boot up Siege today for the first time, a deathmatch game mode is probably going to appeal to you, and that might be where you go first. If you were a CS:GO or Valorant player, a non-respawn game mode would probably appeal to you more, and you probably go to quick match or unranked first.
I mean, even Call of Duty, I played Search and Destroy.
I know. I know. Me too. Me too.
I would 100% have started with quick play until I have just enough level to play ranked, because that would be the only goal, was be.
And then I would warm up with TDM.
I wouldn't even. I'd just jump in.
Sure, yeah, but I'm thinking like after a while, you know, I've played enough quick play. I'm at a level, whatever. Yeah.
When I've gotten experience enough that warming up would really like impact if it matters, then I'd do that. But if we're talking like purely just completely green, no nothing, I would 100% speed run to ranked and then just try to slowly learn, because there's automatically going to be a little bit more at stake, and people are automatically going to care a little bit more. You're getting a better. Like it's sure ranked is not going to teach you how to play proly, but that's not the goal for 99% of people. No. But I think it teaches you Siege. I don't think CDM does.
For sure. I agree with that. I agree with that. Yeah, you're not going to learn how a round plays out.
But what about maps?
Yeah,
I know you're saying in the 5 to 10 seconds. I know you're saying sure, but those 3 maps may be for whatever foundational map learning, whatever. You know what I mean? They learn that in that time. I think it's a nice addition. Do I think it's the appropriate?
Play it, and I'll hear your hear your evaluation after you've tried it, because I think you'll be surprised how little you're actually alive.
Yeah. Okay. It's really quick, is it? Okay.
You're not gonna learn anything.
Oh.
I mean, so I can say that in that short time that I've played Favela, I have learned the layout of Favela better than I did before. And granted, I've been playing it for a long time, but didn't spend a lot of time on the Favela rework. Really, I've only played it in rank probably a handful of times. So playing deathmatch on Favela has helped me. I'll say that.
It's good for maps that always get banned. I'll agree with that.
Yeah.
But
hey,
if Favela was regularly played, if it was regularly played, I'd still rather play it in comp. And also, I think people should spend like an hour or 2 looking through a map just by themselves when they come out.
For sure.
Want to play it in ranked, right?
There has to be a better method. In the future, I hope we get a better method.
Speed Siege! No, I'm not going to go on that. I'm not going to go on that. All right, I think, did we hit everything for Demon Vale as far as the big stuff?
No, attacker repick.
Attacker repick. Holy cow.
Hello, this shit was fire. Okay, let me kick off by saying that was it Clubhouse? Yeah, because I have a very set composition I bring on CCTV. I like to bring Buck with the Harbridge charge to help then the Maverick Buck open the wall when it gets soft. Blah, blah, blah. I have this very specific, but I don't always take Buck bottom floor because I like to take Habana with the breaching charges. So I have a very specific. It doesn't fucking matter anymore. I can do whatever the fuck I want with attacker repick. Like, defenders are so scuffed now. Like, you try to be sneaky with the castle, you know? No, your sneak is gone. Sneak 0. You have no ability with me. I've just taken my drone. I look up at the CC. I literally spawn my drone out. What is that? Whatever that spawn is outside garage. I look at the CC outer wall. I wait. It's not reinforced. They're downstairs. Pick to Habana. Done.
See, this is where I hope that people don't panic and don't start with the defender thing saying, oh, but it's an advantage attackers will always know. Because there's going to be a beautiful little possibility of things to change a lot here. You do that thing with placing your drone outside and rely on them showing you everything.
Yep.
So if people start actually doing stuff on defense and thinking about their setup and where they move and how they go and reinforce, there's a good chance that a lot of the attacker drones are going to be outside and make their choices based on that. So if I reinforce CC a second before the round starts, you pick the wrong operator, and none of your drones are in any positions to have flank or anything. And also, you have no idea what the operators are because there's no reveal or anything in comp. So there might be a cav on board that wasn't 6-picked. There can be a capcan that you don't see. So now you have to go and check every door. You have to be careful with your drone economy. You get the advantage on, and I love it. You get the advantage on attack that you get to choose the right operators for what you want to attack. But you get the massive disadvantage that now each and every drone has to get something.
Right.
Like, you cannot afford to just not, like, you might want to YOLO drone into sight just to know like what kind of operators are actually there. That's kind of rough losing that.
So for the average player, we didn't have a reveal phase. So the most information, well, I shouldn't say the most, but the value, a lot of times the value in the prep phase for an attacker was where is the site?
Yeah.
And then we had already picked our operator, so it was too late at that point. So now I think it's fair to say that an intelligent player, for the most part, unless, like Zeronic said, the defense starts getting really, really creative
Crafty,
there.
yeah.
An intelligent player can get an idea of where the site is without really putting their drone at too much risk. You might not be able to leave it outside, but you can get an idea of where the site is based upon the sounds of people creating rotates and stuff like that. So
for sure.
I don't think it changes that much there. But for the pros, they had a reveal phase that showed them all the operators other than one. And now, so do you think, is it going to be worth it for them to risk more of their drones in the prep phase to find out what operators defense has? How valuable is that?
No, I wouldn't do it. I simply would not change the way I play Siege based off of the fact that I might be able to repick every single comp. Because if you, like, I think of Cafe, for example, you're going to have a distinct different composition between top floor and bottom floor in a competitive setting. Not without a doubt, no team runs the same thing. Well, I mean, yeah, okay, for teams that like to block off the whole thing. But with the current meta, and we open up lines of sight with Bathroom and
current meta doesn't exist with 6-pick. That's the thing. Like, you have
that's
to
what I'm saying.
That's it's going to be completely different.
Sure, but you can't 6-pick 2. The defenders can't 6-pick 2. So you can be rest assured based off how many original shields the team has. If it's only one, then maybe you could take the guesstimation that they 6-pick onto a Kaid, they want to lock everything off, and then your composition's fucked from there. Sure, no problem. But that is such a slim margin of time upon which you are going to be pretty well aware as to whether it's a top floor or a bottom floor defense. And even if you aren't with attacker repick, I can put my drone right in the double door from the get-go, listen for 4 seconds before they start either running into bakery or they have to reinforce. Because let us not forget, I have seen teams throughout the entirety of the 6th invitation setting up well into action phase because there is not enough time in prep phase for them to do everything that they need to do already. There is not a singular way in hell that teams are going to be able to be crafty enough on all sides to wait until the end of the round to reinforce and for us to not be able to repick with enough time to discuss.
But wait, what are you arguing for here? That, because I think we all agree that the other team's going to know where the site is, except for very few cases because it happens. Sure. And it also happens at pro, whether they want to admit it or not. Pro teams go, oh shit, they are here and not there.
Sure.
And they do that into action phase more than people know. And it happens. And it's kind of funny when it does, especially when the attack goes all the way through, like the BDS game, where they fake reforce. What was it? They were basement and set up gym or something and got fully attacked in gym.
I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that happens, but you still have to put some drones at risk because now you have the reveal phase, so you know what the setup is going to look like.
But why would you? Why would you do more than you already do now? That's my argument.
Because right now you already know exactly what it is you're going to be facing, so you know how you're going to want to take your initial. Like, you've already planned your attack before the round started. The second you see the reveal, now you're not getting a reveal on defense. Defense doesn't get a 6-pick. You don't see any of the operators. You have no clue.
All right. So we're talking about with that mechanic. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we have now. That's the mechanic we're having now. Attacker repick means no reveal.
Right. No reveal, no 6-pick.
Right. I'm still in my mind about the reveal.
Yeah. That whole thing is gone. Like, there is economy now. Your drones matter. If you don't drone out and figure out, you're gonna get screwed, because then your attacker repick has no value. you can take your IQ and throw it far, far away. If there's both an Echo and a Valk, and you have no idea if that's there, you gotta risk your drones. Which
Dude,
means
I see what you're
defense
saying now,
has
yeah.
to fight drone holes. Defenders have to be extra careful because killing that initial info means so much. I think it would be insane to not risk like a good portion of intel to just know what you're up against.
Do either of you
I don't want to be droning in and then be surprised.
Do either of you have I've seen some concerns from the pros. Do either of you have those concerns? Or what are your thoughts as far as that goes right now?
Nah, I don't think they can keep saying that attack isn't strong enough and then attack's too strong and like.
Yeah,
Just
no, I
if you
don't
like it
agree
or
with
if you don't
that.
like it,
Yeah.
but don't make it a balanced thing because you don't have enough experience with it yet to call it. Like none of us do.
Exactly.
I agree. I
with
want to
that.
see it in practice.
Yeah.
But I also agree with the arguments whereby we are this many years in and you want to change the foundation of a core mechanic as intensely as we are. I like attacker repick a lot. When I was doing it, as you heard, I was having so much fun with it. I got to do whatever I damn wanted on attack, and who knows what the attackers are going to bring, even if I've, possibly seen things or what I expect them to bring and they change it. That's all well and good. I do agree with the argument that you're this many years in and a core fundamental mechanic is being altered with possibly not enough thought put into the relearning capacity of it. Now, do I think it's a huge hill? No, because I played the game for so long. I have over 6,000 hours. It's easy for me to learn something like that. It's one brand new thing. But this is the argument that I keep coming back to, especially with Goyo, especially with all the other discussions we've had, is that how much is too much at some point? How much do we have to sit here and consider the fact that I was naive until recently? I was given papers that said 70% of our audience is casual. In Pro League, 70% of our audience is casual. And now I'm standing at the desk going, well, shit.
What does that mean? Casual.
The casual viewers who only tune in.
What is a casual?
Well, the disclaimer underneath it, the definition is very, what's the word I'm looking for?
Because I'd say 90% are casual, right?
Sure, but the 70% number I was given was the casual viewer. And then we had to open towards a casual viewership more often than not because they didn't understand what we were saying.
Yeah, and also the people that understand what you're saying are always going to disagree. That's you have the people that understand the game well enough. We always want to argue about if it was this way or this way. You always talk to the new people, but I don't think it's fair that they're saying that. Well, because we're this far in, have they forgotten that reveal didn't used to exist?
Well, ban phase didn't exist until year 3.
Exactly. There was no ban phase. There's no 6-picks. There was no reveal. You had no idea what you're up against.
I really hope that Ubi keeps an open mind on this. I really do, because I want to see it play out for a full stage.
Yeah, me too.
And that's a good question. Okay,
probably not, but let's try and be efficient as possible. So find a middle ground.
A fear that I have is that, and I could be way off on this, but what comes to mind initially for me is that defenders are just going to feel like, okay, there's no more of this taking a warden maybe, or this pocket strat that we have over here or something like this. We just have to play default every round because they're going to know where we're going and they're going to know what operators we have. Maybe, we could see.
Or they just keep picking mute and Mozzie on every freaking drone hole like it.
Jaeger, Wamai, mute. We see a really rigid defender composition come out of this. That's a fear that I have. Another fear that I have is that we just talked about the invite and we've finally gotten to a place where we are really close to balance from attacker and defender. Yeah. And when this was designed, we weren't that close. So is it possible that this actually sends us over that edge? And, we've all talked about before, an attacker bias in this game does feel more oppressive, in my opinion, than a defender bias.
It always will. That's just
that's a couple concerns I have there. I hope that Ubi is keeping an eye on that stuff, and we give it enough time to see how it really is gonna play out.
We're very, very stubborn in Siege, and we take a long time to really change, and we take a really long time to adapt new operators into an efficient way, right? So I hope they don't make a decision too fast, and I really hope they force this.
Oh,
because
it's coming,
defense-
right?
But yellow ping, for
it's coming,
example,
but
is something
I mean,
they've forced that I
hope
still
they
don't
stick.
agree with.
Agreed.
Yeah, but we don't have to agree with it, right? Like at the end of the day, if
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter. If it's there and if it's there for everyone, we can argue if it's balanced or not. But like it's there as a play with it, or they can remove it. Like to me that doesn't matter. But with attacker repick, you have to at least keep it there long enough, because maybe some of the attacker favorite thing we have now is that it's so easy to predict what site people are going to, what's actually happening. You already like most of the defenses look kind of the same. If you need to start risking stuff now and you need to change your lineup, this is another thing people aren't considering. Like I tried to show it on stream at what time in the round you actually have valuable information on your drone. You have like 10 seconds to change your lineup. And that's not a lot if you want to change more than a couple of operators. And you're 100% going to see teams that are like going to sit down and force that it's only ever 2 people that are allowed to change, because otherwise they're too afraid that all of a sudden they clip out and they have no heart breaches. Because someone goes, oh, we need these and these, and then you over-click, right? Like that's going to be an issue as well. So
there's going to be so many issues with it that are just not intended. Yeah,
defense have their massive advantage with it being search and destroy. So whether it's 50-50 or it's 60-40 in win rate to one team or another, defense still has one extra way of winning. I think it's okay that attack at least gets the option to set up their
they shouldn't be allowed to repick their gadgets and stuff. I want to draw a line somewhere along the line of that, of going, it felt a little too far that not only did I get to change my operator, but then I also got to change my weapon, and then I also got to swap from breaching charges to flashes or whatever it is. Like the opportunities for me seemed a little endless. I'm going to keep giving it a go and, adjusting as to how I think that looks. But I do think that if I work out that they're bottom floor and everyone decides to, bring something as a result of that, and now we have an overwhelming amount of floors open or whatever it might be, and we wouldn't have done that otherwise because we might have been scared of a Rooney top floor or whatever it might have been, that maybe we will see a little too much happening for the defenders. I don't know. Obviously, I don't have enough data for it, but...
I think it'll make it so much more interesting to watch, because now...
Sure, yeah.
Now it's a choice what you do, and teams like DC, for example, get to bring the absolute perfect thing for the absolute perfect site. It's going to look so much better for every team. Like no one is going to stand there and be missing. It's less sloppy
if you do that. Yeah, I understand from a viewer perspective, that is good.
I don't care about it from a playing perspective. Like they're playing for money. It's insane.
Yeah. No, you're right. I think Mag said it best. He goes, "You gotta do what the game says. You know what I mean? Whatever the game says, you gotta do it."
Yeah, and everybody's playing by the same rules, so who's gonna manipulate it better is who's gonna win. I'm excited to see how that plays out. And we talked a little bit about yellow ping. Maybe now's a good time to bring up frag grenades and how dominant they were at Invite. I made a video talking about where first of all, what I think is causing the dominance of frag grenades now compared to where they were, a year ago or whatever. And second, what I would do right now. But what are you guys thinking? Are you okay with how strong frag grenades were at Invite? Do vertical grenade kills matter to you? Are we okay with, how prevalent they're becoming? All that stuff.
It got a little boring after a while to watch from my perspective, knowing full well that on Villa, for example, all they needed to do was get library or piano control, and I just watched the same grenade be tossed up to the roof. And then people said to me, "Oh yeah, but they should counter." And I'm like, "Sure, but Villa is huge. If I horizontally extend, how do you want me to also vertically extend? I got 5 players on my team. I also need to worry about the walls. I also need someone on site in case they rush. What if we do a main stairs hold? I can't also then put someone downstairs because they'll get droned and killed." At that point, you've ripped everyone so thin that it's like, I understand there is a counter to that, but imagine how boring it would be if every time we watch a Villa game from now on, it's a roam downstairs with 3 people, 2 in library, 1 in piano, whatever, and that's the counter.
That won't happen though. The way it'll work, and this will go with everything when it comes to meta. Like if someone starts doing that and it starts actually countering the nades, people are gonna bring less nades and they're gonna do different stuff, right?
Exactly.
We're gonna keep rotating over. Like I think they should make it so grenade only does 90 damage through a surface at max. You can only ever take 90 damage through a surface or get down, whatever, like some sort of limit. You cannot get a kill with one nade on a full HP operator through a surface.
Interesting.
Sure, I
That would
agree
be
with that.
enough for me. I'm happy. And I am like the biggest advocate for nades because I think they require skill to throw.
Yeah, that really surprises me to hear you say that, Zeronic. I did not expect you to say that.
No, I don't think lobbing a nade up at the floor and hoping that someone is there is skillful. I think throwing a nade with a lineup that lands a specific spot is skillful. That's why I dislike ADSs, because they destroy that component where a nade from the floor, it doesn't take anything. You learn to count, and then
you also don't know what's coming. Like, there's so many aspects to it I don't like personally.
I don't care about that, because you don't know if flashbang is coming, a nade, stuff like that. There are many encounters that surprise you, and that's why reaction speed and all of that becomes important. But I also think there's no way in hell that we should keep being this panicky about every time there is some sort of meta. Meta should be changed by players, not by developers. It is horrible if StarCraft is still a good example, and I keep using it because it works. People play something, everyone says it's broken. Devs are, don't care. People keep playing, meta changes. Some legend out there finds a way to do something, and it breaks everything, and everyone starts doing something different. It is much more enjoyable when we figure out something that we were convinced couldn't be done. And it's there. It's always there. It's a different thing with, sure, some weapons will do too much damage and have to see a little bit of love, right? But just because we at Invite see a fuck ton of people getting yeeted by nades, let's keep it around the same, and then see if maybe it forces, I don't know, Rook, Doc overstimming people so they can't die.
Yeah.
Sure, you're standing down there with one guy who has to nade. You need two people to cover him because he can't shoot. Right? There's a lot of things that have to go their way, and they have to. What if they don't get anyone with any of these nades? Then they're going to be slow on the actual execute. Okay, right?
Well, that right there is where I'd like to jump in, because I do where I'll counter what you said right there, or not even counter it, but if you bring Maverick. Do you really need to have nades with that man who can open a wall by himself and there's nothing the defenders can do about it? Isn't Maverick good enough without it? So
okay, they're still in Think Hanyana.
Let's say that Mav goes underneath a villa and throws his grenades up and misses his vertical nade kills. Oh, darn, I missed my vertical nade grills. I'm still at 3-speed with a good gun, and I can go open this wall, and there's nothing the defenders can do about it. So I agree with you. I don't want a knee-jerk reaction here, and I'm not even sure that Maverick should lose nades. I'll 100% say that, because I think it synergizes with his kit so well. But with that said, I would like to see it maybe be a tougher choice for attackers. I mean, we saw Space Station bring in 8 nades and not even blinking. 8 nades every single round in the finals. And at least on one of the maps. And, should it be that easy? I mean, to bring 8 nades? I don't know about that.
I don't know where I sit on this. Yeah, I will say that at the end of the day, I'm worried because I feel like we're moving into a position of playing the game in a way that I don't personally enjoy. So I'm personally worried from my viewing experience, not from everyone else's playing or viewing experience, that maybe we will see more of a kill hungry, less objective base because the grenades are in the position that they are. And it's quite easy with very little risk to get the kills, whatever it is, right? From the verticality, SSG had the highest grenades per attacking round in the entire tournament. Did it net them a tournament win? No. So obviously it's not the most ideal way to play, let's say, to net those round wins or attacking winning percentage, which they certainly did not have the most of. So I know that it might not always end in a win and teams will see through it eventually, but I would hate to continue to move down a route that moves away from, remember when we were so focused on the plant? Remember when everyone looked at Brunei or BDS and wow, they got to plant down 75% of the time on almost every single map. That's an amazing way to play the game. It led to 80% higher chance of winning the round because they got the objective down, as we expect with most, objective plays. And that's the ideal way to play. So I'm worried it moves away from my ideal way of playing the game. That's the only thing I'm concerned about.
Gotcha.
I don't know with Siege. It seems like every time we're in a meta, well, not everyone, but a lot of people, like every time anything gets stable for like 2 seconds, people want to change it. And we're never really happy. We always have to find the one thing that has to be nerfed. Like no one ever talks about what we could give the other ones to fix issues. It's always about taking something away. And it just makes the game less fun. That's like
what if
at a fair level, it makes the game less fun removing stuff.
I actually think we're in the best meta we've ever been. Like even if I feel like from my own perspective, maybe we're moving a little bit more kill hungry. I might not like that. I hope we see a little bit more players. That would be cool. No worries. That's just my personal thing. But what if the only problem I have is LMGs at the moment? I personally think there's not a lot of detriment to bringing them. Obviously the slow fire rate and everything like that, but a lot of guns have slow fire rate, etc. What if the only change I want, Zeronic, is that if you take an LMG, you move slower. That is the only change in the entire game I want, is that if you hold an LMG on defense or on attack, you move slower. You have a movement penalty
like
as a result of wielding it. And there you go. If that is the only thing I want to change, would we still be in the same direction? I don't know. But that's honestly where I'm at, is I have one problem with the game, and that's it.
Okay.
I think the only thing you're going to see is you're going to see less Sophia play because no one's going to run the main gun. No one's going to want to play a 1-speed Sophia. But I'm fine with that. Like, make it so it comes at a 1-speed cost. I said more or less the same. I think I said like 5 or 10% speed cost or something. But it's easier to move them in increments of 1, 2, 3 speed. But even if that happens, it doesn't change Yana. Finka's going to run the spear. You still have the same nades. It won't have it won't really do anything. We're just trying to constantly mitigate whatever is the strongest, no matter what it is. If it's Sophia's gun, it needs nerfing.
But is
right?
anyone really unhappy about nades? Like, let us all sit here. Are we all unhappy about grenades? Because I'm not.
No, but I didn't have an issue with 20-second meta either, because I assumed that if we run for a long enough time, someone is gonna break it. It's gonna happen. It's just right now where everyone's playing chase and catch and siege, and it's a couple of teams develop something and then everyone else tries to counter it instead of everyone making their own thing. As long as we do that, then things are going to stagnate a little bit and we're going to be stuck in a meta. But if Ubi doesn't go in and intervene and like change stats of things to get them out of play, just because they either want to...
Who's complaining about nades though? I like, that's my genuine concern.
There's a lot of people.
Is it pro teams? Because like, we've never trusted them, let's be honest.
Well, it doesn't matter who it is, right?
Okay, here's what I'll say. And I made a video about it. I think that, first of all, I think that we're in the best meta that we've ever been. And I think that the nades jumping off the screen to us are a result of being in that meta where you don't have to use your nades to clear a Melusi Banshee anymore, because we have other options of dealing it, whether it's the Gone 6 or the the fact that it opens up or whatever. With that said, okay, so we saw several rounds where there were 2 kills in that round through vertical nades. What if we get to a point where there's 3 kills vertical nades? Now there's, and granted, I'm exaggerating there. I don't think we're, because the defense has to react to that. Now maybe they need to place a roamer underneath the objective. They have options there too. But I think it's very clear from Invite. Frag grenades are the most desirable secondary gadget for attackers. Yeah. I don't think there's any way you can argue that. So maybe, like, to Zeronic's point, maybe we should be looking at the other secondary gadgets that attackers can bring to try to make them a little bit more viable. But yeah, I mean, I don't know.
No, because look to CS:GO. I know it's a bad, comparison sometimes. 9 times out of 10, it's a bad comparison. But how many years have players practiced lineups with smokes, with flashes, and with grenades? You think about pit, you think about graveyard, whatever they call those spots where people tuck into. And those are exact spots that you can only clear with a grenade. I don't like the thought process of removing the opportunity for the attackers to remove a power position that is otherwise immovable, because that takes skill to know, and the defender should know that the only way they're going to get countered is through a grenade, and that they should be aware that that is the consequence of them sitting in that position. So I like the threat level on both sides, that someone could be in that power position, and conversely, that the attackers have a way to be able to clear it. And we've seen this in CSGO for years and years and years. It has never changed. People know that that's the risk if they sit in that spot and they do that. So I like it. And I also think that, yes, you can buff other secondaries and stuff like that. But I've seen claymores be hyper crucial on certain maps. I've seen smokes be used to block very crucial lines aside. To say that others don't stack up is, for me, situational. Maybe at the moment, players are still have to come to terms with the fact that, oh, if I sit in this spot, I can be vertically grenaded. If I don't make a vertical hold to counter it, whatever, right? And that's the risk that they take. And they have to be aware of that.
Nades are the best.
They are. They are the best to get to the objective of winning the round. You're right.
Yeah, and that's the only goal the secondary has.
To eliminating the opponent, sure. But that's not the only goal.
A flashbang might blind someone, it might not. A grenade is going to guarantee that no one is where you threw it.
The flash is for burn. Anyone who takes flash to flash someone is an idiot.
Yeah, or they're lazy and never learned how to throw flashes.
Sure. Maybe either way, at a top level.
Yeah, but they aren't the ones coming up with the good nade lineups either.
Dude, I get frustrated by candelas, let alone flash grenades. Like I never.
You shoot it, forehead.
I wish we started seeing people learn more. Like I think we've seen this like 5 times in Pro League ever, where people threw the flashbang up in the roof to have it fall down a hatch and blow up before it hit the ground. Like it's so rare that people do that, or bounce it off a wall so it then falls down a hatch. People just toss them down, even if they know there's nothing to burn. Why? Why not put that little bit of effort in to learning some of the mechanics? We've talked about this before, where maybe it's because there's so much going on in Siege that it's hard. But people, like, if we take the nade stuff, how are they getting all those kills? Is it out of info? Is it because if it's drones, that could be dealt with by shooting some of them, right? I know that's not a fair counter. Oh, just shoot the drone, but you could stop drones from getting on site. Like, you couldn't make that a priority. Are they just random nading spots? Because maybe not sit in the same damn spot every round.
Well, that's my argument. That's my argument. That's the risk that you take. If you consistently sit, let's say you get kitchen control. We see Buck go under there a lot of times. Even in Invite, we saw Buck go underneath. Yeah. Super shout out to you. Managed to do some damage. Congratulations. And so he came in underneath kitchen, bucked underneath. And that's your fault. If you sit in the soft breach and don't hold kitchen below, like the meta used to be on Oregon, where you would hold kitchen below, reinforce it off, yada, yada. If you don't do that, that is the risk that you take. I want there to be risk for defenders who want to get comfy in a power position or want to get comfy in a spot, that spot actually isn't going to be comfy for the entirety of the round. I like that. I like that mechanic. So in the same way that we could nerf grenades into 90, I also don't agree with it at the same time, because it goes against my philosophy that defenders shouldn't get comfy. So I'm so 50-50.
Make it so don't get the kill. Just make it so it downs through walls.
Downs? Yeah, okay. Yeah, because then someone has to come pick you up. That puts you at risk. There's a hole in the ground. They can hear you crawling and screaming. Yeah.
What about Azami? Should her gadget currently her gadget does not stop any explosive damage. If you throw one down at the floor, create the area, sit on top of it, should that protect you from a vertical nade?
No.
Just no. What's your reasoning?
What do you mean? If you sit on a hatch in Oregon in kids, do you get hit by the grenade if they grenade underneath the hatch? The answer is yes. You know how I know? Because it happened to me the other day.
Like a reinforced hatch or a soft
radius?
one?
Yes, okay. Reinforced hatch. Yep.
Well, you're not taking damage through the hatch. You're taking damage through the soft floor.
Through the soft floor that surrounds as a result of the ash. So the same thing should happen with Azami.
Yeah. But I mean, if it blows it up, if you stand on the other side of a castle barricade and the castle barricade blows up, you take damage, but it's reduced.
Yes.
Right? I think the reduced damage is fine enough. And also, like, at some point, man, I know people are saying, oh, Rook doesn't bring enough. What the fuck do you mean he doesn't bring enough? Do you have any, like, how many rounds do people get down to whatever HP where Rook would have made them take one more bullet? I would love to see the stats if we actually went through that. The same Thunderbird.
Oh, I'm so against the whole Rook thing. I'm sorry. This makes me cringe.
That's fine. But do the math on Thunderbird. How many rounds she reset from giving people one extra heal? Where people ended up taking one bullet and still winning, where they could otherwise have died. Because it happens way more than we think. And overstimming, the idea of like an old consulate, when you'd sit up on the little, like in the corner, you could overstim yourself, or on yellow, you could survive 3 to 4 nades if you did this. Right? So then, okay, maybe Rook isn't that good, but you're not getting the guy out of the position. You wasted all of your energy on it. That seems to be worth more than so many other gadgets you could have put to take over that position. Like, I swear people are messing some math here in terms of what value you get. Also, when Rook dies, all of you have it. Like, there's value to that. He has 2 times a good gun and impacts or bulletproof.
It'd be interesting to see. I'd love to see somebody actually commit to the Rook and seeing if it did make a difference. Because on paper, I agree with you. On paper, I agree with you. I don't think that the fact that you get down from explosives guaranteed. I don't know how much that's going to play out. Yeah,
that's not the one either.
Right. But the extra health, yeah. Maybe there is something there.
And especially if you're Doc or Thunderbird, right, and you combo them, things get kind of crazy when you can tank 3 more shots than you're used to, and then people are gonna go, oh, but they only hit headshots. They don't.
What was that sound? I need that sound again. I have never heard you make that sound. That's hilarious.
My pterodactyl.
Let's get into some more year 7 stuff. You guys good with that?
Yes, sir.
Because we're getting a practice range in Siege at some point. How about that?
Is that the little circles,
yes,
with the targets, and you can stand a certain? Yeah, okay.
Is that the little circle? Yeah.
A little target practice one with the certain,
I'll tell you what.
Recoil.
Let's frame the year 7 discussion around is 2022 the year of Siege? Is year 7 when Siege makes a comeback? Did you see enough in the year 7 reveal to say that?
Yeah. If the meta wasn't already in the direction it was going, I might not agree. But because the meta is in such a good position and I could have played the test server for another 12 hours after I had finished stream the other day. And I don't remember the last time I had felt that. Obviously the cheating issue, aside, if I was to remove that from the equation, which you can't, of course, but let's pretend, then I could have played for another 12 hours. And I can't remember the last time I had that feeling.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. The only complaint I have for this year is if they don't fix cheating, then we're done.
Yeah,
what
if we could remove it from the equation, then
what is fixed cheating? What does that mean?
If I am streaming, or if any of us are streaming, let's say we're one of the top 4 streamers at that time, streaming Siege, and for 2 games straight, which has happened to me multiplicity of times now, if for 2 games straight, I go up against someone who is either sliding backwards through a door with Carly, infinitely firing through a wall, or Maverick shotting me through a wall, and the very next day I go against that same person, that is unacceptable. That is unacceptable that you have the biggest marketers of your game going against the same cheater multiple days in a row. That is not okay. In my opinion, that is not okay.
I agree with that, but I think that's the least of the issue. I think the big issue is the dude who comes home from work and sits down to play in the 2 hours he has.
Yep.
He faces a cheater. He thinks, okay, fuck it, I'll play one more. He faces another cheater. I think that's the real problem, because I get paid the exact same at the end of the day. It really doesn't matter. And fuck it, I can even make content around it if I wanted to, right? Mm-hmm. It could actually pay the bills. So for me, it's not the biggest biggest deal, and also the elo isn't that important for me. I reached diamond, and then I can say, oh, I'm not that bad anymore. Right? I'm not old enough now to not be able to hit anything. But when you are more likely to meet a cheater in high elo than you are to have a legit game, then there is a massive issue. And when rage cheaters, the people that are spin butting and stuff like that, I get it with closet cheaters. It's smart to have a buffer window and let them play for a while, get as many as possible, so they can't go in and A/B test their cheats, right? Because you don't want the cheater to make the program, launch it, have 5 people banned, and he's like, okay, we're gonna change this, and then boom, ready, new cheat. You want it to surprise them when it comes out. But with rage cheaters, I don't really care if the cheat's detected. Just ban the asshole.
Yep.
Right? I don't care if you know what he's using. If he's going like a helicopter around the room, tapping everyone with a baseball bat with a math torch attached to it shooting ass charges, then like I'd like to
That's
see him
ridiculous.
go. Right? I don't care about the closet cheaters. I probably don't notice them. Right? They don't really impact if I have a good time or not. Because it could have been a cracked 14-year-old who's just insanely good at shooting. Or it could have been a cheater. And we're going to react the same way either way. Because every single one of us, when we get one-tap wall banged by a guy who flicks, we go, oh, that's sus. No matter what, right?
Yeah, no
we
matter
all
what.
do. Or we go nice shot if we're in a really good mood.
How many times have you and I been accusated as well for just having really good map knowledge and just banging someone from across the map? Perfect, cool.
Same
that doesn't happen to me for some reason. I don't.
Really? Don't. One day, bro. Don't worry.
You win a fucking point for that one. That was good.
I agree with you guys. I think that like cheating is the big if, but for me, I kind of like place it to the side, and maybe I shouldn't. I kind of place it to the side.
Oh no, I do as well.
And I'm just like looking at everything else and like. Because I feel like, that year 7 announcement was a lot of stuff that's under Ubi's control. And when you look at what's under their control, which cheating is to a certain degree as well, but let's not pretend that they're the only person that has a problem with it. I think the year 7 reveal hit hard, and I think that it needed to hit hard. And I think there's a lot of really good stuff in there. I wish that more of it was coming. I wish it was more of it was coming with year 7 season 1 or in the first half of the year even. I wish that year 7 season 1 was really hitting hard, and maybe the good operator, the TDM, the one-time sites, maybe that's enough. But I think that it would have been really nice if the map was launching with it as well. And maybe it won't turn out to be that big of a deal, but I just would have liked for this momentum to really be carried into the new season and to have as much there as possible. I do think that the delaying crossplay and cross progression is pretty sad.
What's happening with crossplay? Because I had heard cross progression, which makes total sense, and maybe I'll be able to pull the random ass skins I have from my PlayStation account from years and years ago, which is going to be amazing. But what is this about crossplay? Because I'm continually getting questions about this. I fundamentally disagree with crossplay because console players are about to be wiped across the floor and humbled really quickly, and it's going to cause a lot of divide that was otherwise already there. But is this between console and PC, or is this
no? Okay, so here's how they announced it. Well, they announced it. Here's how they said it's going to work. And this has been a while since we've had any communication on this, other than the fact that it's delayed. But they said that PC will be isolated. PlayStation 4 and Xbox will be able to play against each other.
Sure.
I personally think that they should allow PC and console to play together under a couple of conditions. Listen,
you just don't understand the options.
Couple conditions. If you are on PlayStation or Xbox, you would have to check a box saying, I want to play with PC people.
Okay, sure.
And
because you got a Zim and you don't give a fuck. Okay,
right. Or whatever. And you would only be able to play quick match and unranked. If you wanted to play ranked with a PC player, you would have to be in a 5-stack with people. Yeah. So if you're a PC player and you say, I want to play ranked with my friend who's on PlayStation 4, we would have to have a 5-stack, and we could go and we could play ranked. Why not? We're making that decision.
There's literally no downside. Sure, you might.
If you're a 5-stack, I can see, because you're right. You're not. There's no detriment to anyone else. You're not ruining anyone else's game. Okay, sure.
Crossplay is to get people to play together with friends. That's the point. At the end of the day, I'm never going to use it, but why the hell should we stop Timmy from playing with his friend just because they have different platforms? There's no
with
benefit.
Those conditions, sure.
Okay.
With those conditions, sure.
The console player is forced to join the PC player. They're forced to fill the whole stack, whatever, if we're only talking 5 stacks or whatever other game mode there is. Because you can't force the controller on other PC players in the same team. I don't give a shit if I have to sit and play against 4 people with the controller.
Especially an unranked or quick match. I don't care about that personally, but
even ranked, I don't care either. Bring it if they're good. I know people on controller that can keep up with all of them.
I think that was going to be a big moment for the game personally, because we still have a huge console community, and we have a bunch of people that have switched from console to PC, that, including me, that want to transfer their skins. We have a lot of people that have been waiting to switch because they've known this has been coming for a while. Here's what I'll say. Okay, Fortnite had crossplay probably 4 years ago. Okay.
Yeah.
Call of Duty released Modern Warfare, the reboot. That would have been 2.5 years ago, with full crossplay. So you're telling me
Damn, that was bad.
you're telling me in that time that Ubisoft can't get their number one multiplayer competitive shooter crossplay ready? That's
You're asking a question ridiculous, like excluding everything that's already happened in Siege. Like that's
Yeah, I
I
don't
think that's the
think that's fair.
problem. Yeah, I think it's unfair to like turn around like they didn't have the time. Well, they had time to do like a trillion other things as well, and we're still sitting here, you know, on a podcast arguing about it. You know what I mean? Like it's for me, that's beyond the point. I like the idea. One of my favorite streamers is a console player, and I think he does phenomenally well. And
I don't play on console.
Oh, my second favorite streamer, my second favorite or third. Oh god, guys, I'm really losing the list now. But I think you're 100% right. The more we can engage the console community, the better. I 100% agree with it. I obviously don't agree with, you know, like mixing it on other people and stuff like that. But you would mitigate it with those options. My problem is what you just said. Then get flanked. Is that you have turned around and you said, why couldn't they with this much time? That's the problem. Because we said that about everything. And we say that 2 years down the line. We say that 3 years down the line. We're now 4 years down the line with some things. Privacy mode, for example.
It's fair with some things. No, but it's fair with some things. It's not fair with others.
Yes.
When we talk about Call of Duty, sure, the game was developed with it in mind.
Yep.
right.
It's a lot different having to try and, oh, you're such a cutie, having to try and make crossplay work when, so you want to get Xbox and PlayStation to work together. Well, you need PS4 to work with PS5 and to work with both Xboxes. And you have 4 different game versions. When you push patches,
that's the problem.
They have to all be individually approved at the same time. It's a live game, so you can't push the patch before all 4 of them have been done at the same time. You need to be able to log in across everything. It's a lot different having that built and ready.
Sure.
Right? And then you make your game. So you talk to Microsoft and Sony, and you get the whole like infrastructure to do your grouping and all of that, or whatever they do. And then you have your game and it's implemented. Instead of coming in and like patching it in years down the line.
Yeah.
Like just look at the like sound overhaul they were doing with like closing off the walls because some of the walls didn't touch and stuff like that. Like if that's a bit of an issue, or the ways that they fix some of the destruction and other things, think about going in and changing like the whole grouping system and how games work across platforms.
Sure.
I think it's fair that it's taking them a long time. Like that's the one thing where I'll defend the development time of it, because it's probably really fucking difficult.
Oh, I'm sure. Sure it is.
The same with the demo mode. It wasn't fair when people compared it to CS. CS is the most complicated or most simple in terms of demo mode. I could probably write down the demo of CS in Notepad and it would like make sense for the engine to read, right? Whereas Siege needs to remember all the destruction, everything. So I think with that one, if they are going to push something out, do it with that so when they get it, it works.
Yeah, and they get it right, because again, if they only allow console to play console, I think that it's better than nothing, but it's not going to reach the potential that it could have as far as allowing people to really play with their friends. And with that said, I don't want to throw a dark cloud over the year 7 reveal, because I think that's like the one kind of bad spot, and I don't want to harp on it too much because there's so much good stuff in there. So much good stuff. The reputation system all looks fantastic. Hopefully that actually comes into the game this year. I think it will. I think that the esports calendar looks great, except for one hiccup that seems to be fixed now. But I think there's a lot to be excited about in year 7. I think the momentum is there, and I think that they did enough with the year 7 reveal to say Siege could make a comeback this year. What does a comeback in Siege look like to you? Like, can you put a number on it? Is it Twitch viewership? Is it esports viewership? Is it player counts on Steam? What does a year 7 comeback look like?
New players wanting to stay when they join.
Yes, it's retention for me. I mean, retention in everything is the goal, is it not? It's the same in Pro League. Like, I think half of their metrics are like, did we retain that viewer or not? The 70% casual viewership, how much of that did we retain or whatever, right? Like, that's the goal for viewership and stuff. So, like, that's my goal. Is can I bring a new player in, and a month later, do they still want to play ranked or casual with me?
Exactly. I just want to hear people launch the game after a year or two and say, you know what, I had fun. I want to do it again tomorrow.
Yep.
If it hits that, I'm happy. Like, I don't need like fancy shit. I don't care how many viewers we get up to in Siege, or if we hit X amount million players. Sure, it'd be nice, but at the end of the day, I'd much rather have that the majority of the people I meet go, you know what, game's good right now.
You know what's crazy is, and again, I don't know exactly how the new operators shake out with the season pass and the battle pass. All that's a little bit convoluted now, but imagine 5, maybe even 6 years ago, buying Rainbow Six Siege on your PlayStation 4 or even PC for $10 when it was on sale, and seeing that 5-6 years later, they're getting ready to drop this update, which is free to you, by the way. You might have to pay to get the operators, but all this stuff that's coming as far as the new game modes, the deathmatch, the maps, all that stuff is free for that game that you paid $10 for 6 years ago. That's pretty amazing. It really is. And I think that we kind of lose sight of that. What did you say,
the amount of hours, right?
Yeah,
Jess, what did you say? You have like 6,000 hours or something, right?
I have over 6,000 hours now for Jesus Lord, and for the money that I've spent on this game, which is, excuse my French, F all. Yeah, it's not bad when you convert that amount of time to how much I spent on the game. Yeah. Mind you, I have like how many accounts that I buy on sale, you know what I mean? To just have that other account for whatever reason, right? You can't do it now, of course. So, you know, I got to let them go to the wind kind of thing. But I mean, I probably spent less than 100 euros.
Wow.
I mean, I probably spent 1,500 or more. Oh.
What you buying?
Everything.
Oh, credits and shit. Okay. Yeah. See, whereas I collect skins out of packs, so I'm very particular with the way that I do. I collect renown. Then I buy all of the Halloween packs with the renown every year. So I'm like super particular. Maybe I'm not the best case study here, but yeah.
Well, you also won't be able to keep up. You won't be able to get everything if you do it with renown. It's very smartly made that way.
Yes.
I play ranked for 12 hours a day for a couple of years, and I couldn't keep up with renown.
I can only do the Halloween every year. I collect for the Halloween every year. Yeah.
Wow, that's
so that's the only one I do with renown.
I bought all the Halloweens. I bought all the special event ones because the way I look at it is, if I can justify going to the movies and watch $20 movie with popcorn and everything, right?
Yeah.
Then I can justify those packs in a game I spend like 100 times the amount of time in, if I wanted.
If you want,
exactly. It's not about like I don't need it. I like the game, and I might as well collect it, right? Like some people collect all the weird stuff that they'll never use. I just collect the skins in the game. And
I mean, you should see how many figures are in this room. Like if I turn this camera around, I would show you how many figures my partner has, and like they do nothing but look at me. Let's be honest. So
I see Baby Yoda there.
She's staring me down right now. Speaking about console,
it's still a good investment, right? Like, does the game make you forget about other things, and do you enjoy the time you spend?
Sure.
There's very few things where you can pay this small amount of money and then get this trade-off, right? So
what do we miss as far as year 7? Anything else that you guys want to throw out there as far as topics?
Rank 2.0.
Yeah.
Say again.
Rank 2.0.
Yeah.
I am so very excited.
Is this the new ranking system thingy?
Yeah.
Could you explain it? I suppose not just for me, but for everyone else.
You're going to be able to play with everyone.
Oh shit!
And you're going to start at.
Because you start at the bottom. Okay.
You start at the bottom, but you're going to be able to play with anyone, no matter what, no matter how long you've played. Your skill and your rank are going to be separated.
The current.
Does it replace what?
Current ranked mode. This is just going to replace it all?
This is rank 2.0. It's the new system. So you start at the bottom. You rank up. Your skill and your rank, or whatever you want to call it. You have 2 values. You have your visual whatever rank, and you have your actual skill. So you're going to be matchmaked against the same value of skill, but you're going to keep climbing in rank. Or in rank over time until you hit a rank that matches your skill. So now you can actually play with your friends that might not be as good as you, but you still enjoy playing together with, which for all of us is an actual needed thing. Because we all know people that are better than us and all know people that are worse than us that we'd like to every now and then play with. So that becomes a thing. And we don't have to hide behind 15 different Smurf accounts and fuck the system up that way.
Yeah.
So we can stay on one account.
How are they valuing it? How do I? How
at the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Well,
right, because
Okay.
It does for me, because if I finish, like, this is the main argument of people.
When you play ranked, you complain about people either not being good enough or being too good. Exactly.
No, I complain about people being on my team in Plat 1, Diamond 3 at the moment who don't know how to reinforce a basic wall or are reinforcing off rotates in Diamond 3.
Yeah, and the value of them getting there was that they kept winning. They won more than they lost, and then they ended up getting there. So whatever system we use for it, it can never be better than pushing people up when they keep winning. So
what's the value now?
If what we have isn't good enough now.
Yes, correct.
Then it's not going to matter. Then it's about finding people you want to play with and then play against that. That's what should matter.
I hate accepting that, though. Obviously, you know that I don't like accepting that we just stay with the same system upon which has caused issues.
We're not staying with the same system. The system's changing.
But that's what I'm saying. So with that skill level now, I would like to know how that is going to change my experience from what I've had to now what will be.
You will be able to play with whoever you want on your team. And if you keep winning, you're going to be facing people that are better and better and better. Like any other rank.
What if I solo queue and I got people who's in a 2-stack and maybe another 2-stack?
Then you'll match with whatever skill you're set to.
So.
And how do I attain that skill? Is it from winning only?
I think they're gonna have to have a personal performance, at least booster in there, similar to Valorant.
Sure. Whether it's tiny. Valorant is
and
right?
I've heard some concerns from people who are saying, "Hey, I'm a legit bronze. So you're telling me that I gotta play against Pingu at the beginning of the season because he's gonna be starting in copper and working his way up?"
He's not.
Exactly. The way that they're gonna make this work is with a hidden skill ranking, like Zoronic said, and that skill ranking is gonna be saying, okay, we have this bronze and this bronze. Their skill rankings aren't even remotely close, so they're not gonna play against each other. We're gonna play these against these people. And if you are somebody who the skill ranking says, we think this person deserves to be up in diamond eventually, and you're playing with a bunch of your friends who that skill ranking thinks will be in silver, then the only way I see this working is if that diamond plays and wins, they're probably not going to gain much from that. It's going to be a much slower progression for them playing at that skill level. That's how I see all this working out. I don't know that for sure, but based upon other ranking systems I've seen, and
they explained that in the reveal.
I don't think they did they?
They did. They said you move up slower. You can have a diamond dude queuing with a bronze dude, but you'll move up a different race, right? Because your skill is going to be like any rank system is going to try to. This is what we always argue, and where people always seem to miss the whole point. The rank system isn't about you ranking up; it's about you getting to your rank,
right?
Yes.
And then play against people of similar rank. Now we're going to have a 10 times better experience because the skill will stay over seasons, right?
Yes.
So
there'll be some progression. I think that's
so this is more of a long-term goal. Okay, so now I'm understanding, because if you're saying this is going over seasons, this hidden skill level that you've got, I can expect a couple of seasons down the line that when I load into the new season, I'm resetting my rank, but not in my skill, that little hidden value, that I will, if I've been playing properly and I've been, winning the appropriate amount and I got to my rank in the previous seasons, or I got to my skill number in the previous seasons, that I will be versing people in the same threshold thereabouts. It's more of a long-term goal. Now that you explain it like that, I can see the long-term goal, which will come quicker and then not be a problem for people down the line. I think initially it will be the same problem we had before, but then it will even out.
I just don't think that problem is fair, because I don't think you can refer to a single game where it isn't. And I don't think you have an idea to a solution that makes any sense or has any value. So I think we're complaining about it because we don't like that sometimes we perform and the other people suck. And sometimes we suck. Because I know all of us have dropped donuts.
So
and all of us have had good games. Valorant's got a shit ranking system. CS got
Why
a shit
don't we just
ranking
have MMR with cost and everything? Why don't we value
things? Because it's
things?
useless to value.
Okay.
It can be abused.
Let me throw this potential problem I could see out there, or a potential mindset that I could see being a problem. Okay, so now you're telling me that in order for me to get out of copper, I have to beat people that it might be diamond by the end of the season. Does that feel weird to you? So right now, if I'm ranked copper, I'm playing against other people that are copper that have earned that rank. If I start the season out as copper, but my skill ranking there says we think this person is going to end up as diamond, then theoretically, for me to get out of copper and rank up and gain points on my
win.
on my forward facing rank, I'm going to be playing against other people who are close to that skill level, right?
Nope. If you keep playing, you'll lose your games, you'll lose your skill. You'll play against people with less skill, you'll start winning, you'll climb in rank.
Right.
Your skill level is going to fluctuate, but your rank's going to increase.
But don't you lose more than you gain? Like in the current system,
you do in the current system.
You always lose more than you gain in any elo system because otherwise it doesn't work. If you do the normal 15,
at what point does the balance strike? I think is what GetFriends trying to say. Like, okay. Right. I mean, I see what you're saying, but it won't. I think people will find a problem with it not showing that front-facing value, even though they know that the hidden value is upon which that balance is being struck.
Why do we need to see this value? What is our obsession?
You and I agree with that.
Yeah.
You and I agree with that.
We don't because we're forward-thinking and we're smart. But there is the guy out there who bases his whole life upon that ranked emblem that is forward-facing, and he's going to be like, "I'm stuck in copper playing against really good opponents."
Hold up, he's going to get his satisfaction because his rank is going to climb the more he plays, and he's going to face better opponents the more he plays.
Ideally, I can tell you though, like there are times, because this is at least close to what Valorant has going on. There are times in Valorant where you're like, I'm playing in silver right now, and I feel like I'm playing against really, really good opponents that don't deserve to be in silver. You know what I mean? And granted, they could be Smurfs or whatever, or maybe I'm just not as good as I think. But that hidden matchmaking is what's deciding who you're playing against, and that forward-facing rank is just a place marker, basically, that's telling you your progression through ranked. And it's good. I agree with you. We're all on the same page. I just think that it's going to take some time for players to adjust to that, and there is going to be a little bit of frustration associated with that.
But we used to have it where we couldn't see the elo, right, at all, and we didn't know when we were going to rank up. And every one I've talked to that played back then had a better ranked experience. Every single one. We could queue with whoever we wanted to. Sure, there was times where you'd meet like people with like a diamond and then 4 people that were like or low ranked or something to boost people up, and that was horrible. But now you meet the same. It's just 4 cheaters instead of 1 guy. I'd much rather have the other one where you can play with whoever you want as your friends. And like, I've played really good games with friends that were not that good at the game, but were really into working together as a team.
Yeah.
Whereas the higher you get up in rank, the more ego we all get to try and keep fragging and be noticed and do fancy stuff, and the less teamwork gets into it. Like really high rank stacks, there's a reason there's not that many of them streaming. It's not that fun.
Yeah, I think I agree. I'm looking forward to this, and I think it will be an improvement. I think that the average player there's going to be some players out there that are going to need to adjust their thinking and how they look at their rank and stuff. What else? Anything else you guys got that you want to throw out as first topics?
I'm sad the rep system didn't come out yet.
Yeah.
My rep is gonna look like shit because people are going to sabotage. They're gonna do it to all of us. We know it's gonna happen.
Not gonna have any impact.
So that's what I'm asking. So what is the counter to that? That was my only issue.
How would they sabotage? What are the tools that they use to sabotage you?
It's like, don't you get like still the reporting system and things go through? And so they could just essentially sit there and go, well, let's do it at a very basic non-known person in the community. Let's say a woman loads into a game, she makes a few call outs. For whatever reason, her teammates are like, misogynist, and they just go, blah, 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 griefing or whatever, you know what I mean? How is that counterbalanced? Because that seems like a legit report then, because the entire team agreed.
I'm not sure if the countering is public, so I'm not gonna go too much into it. But it is, of course, there is no way in hell that false reporting is gonna do anything. Have you ever seen anyone get banned for like toxic behavior reports in game just because people did it too much or cheating? You have not been banned for toxic behavior or cheating because people reported you in game, and I'll bet you they do. But
with the new reputation system, my worry is that it might tarnish whatever the reputation base is as a result.
Along with her point, there was a screenshot they showed where it showed how many times you had been reported out of the last 100 matches, and then it showed the average amount. So I think there is a valid concern if that number gets too high because people recognize me and want to grief me, would there be any consequences?
So there has to be something, because there's the same thing as CS, right? Let's just imagine because this is how it works in other games. I can say this without anything being bad. Let's say I report you, both of you, and every time I see you, I report both of you, and I get the 4 other people to do it as well. But I never report anyone else, and no one else ever reports you. My report doesn't line up. My value goes down in terms of the validity of what I say, right?
Yeah.
The same with like Overwatch in CS when you're doing the watching the TD clips. If you keep giving accusations that don't hold value, you lose the weight in each vote.
That's great.
So you can't just go around and just report everyone all the time. And also there's going to have to be, if you get a lot of votes for like toxic chat, surely they're going to check and then see, is there anything? Then they're going to wipe it if there's nothing.
Yeah.
Like, what if I don't even have all chat on and you report me for toxic chat? Can you imagine they could see that? And then I actually you get a minus point for reporting me because I didn't type anything.
If there is recourse for doing that, then I can see how this totally works.
Yeah.
I
There has
wanted
to
to know
be.
the balance
Yeah.
upon which,
Like, you're forgetting that the people that are doing this are automatically going to have a bad reputation.
Well, but you're okay. I think that what you
Toxic
can
people are gonna climb down real quick.
say is that if it's well designed, then there will be a defense system built in.
But there's no way that they release it without, because streamer mode is
Streamer
already
mode,
a fucking shit show.
streamer
Yeah,
mode,
but
streamer mode 1.0,
Exactly.
brother. Like
that's what I'm saying. It's already a shit show.
Okay,
There's no
okay,
way they're
okay.
doing the same again.
okay, I hope you're right. I believe.
Yeah.
You can't
I
fuck
believe.
it up as much as they did with streamer mode. Like,
I
you
believe. I believe.
can't. There's no way. Not twice.
I hope
not
you're right.
twice.
And the fact
Oh,
that they've taken
no.
so long does give me confidence as well that they are getting it right. So, what else?
So at least that's algorithm and data. Like that's
Yeah.
something.
I have full confidence that they'll have a countermeasure in place.
Yeah.
Anything else,
Okay.
guys?
No, the new map looks interesting. That's the only other thing we
Yeah.
haven't really seen much of yet to be seen. I wanted to also plop in here for the esports fans that every season or year or whatever, the pros get to vote on maps. We all remember the controversy around this. I believe a vote has been had. I will not say anything more.
For the new map or
And-
for just how the map pool is
No,
going
for
to change?
the map pool.
Okay, gotcha.
A vote has been hadeth, and I cannot say more.
Okay.
And do look forward
Can you say
to yet another.
Can you say spicy or not spicy?
I
It's gonna
would
be
say
spiced no matter
probably
what.
expected in
Okay.
some regards.
Okay. Okay.
Do you think they should have a vote on that?
No,
that's
I
a
think pro
interesting-
players should shut their fucking mouth and play the game. But
Okay, we agree.
So
Yeah.
Jess is saying Favela is coming into the Pro League map pool.
come on.
And yeah. So all right.
Do you think they should have a vote on that? Flank? I just think it's an interesting conundrum.
I mean, okay. Having a vote across the pro players is not unfair. However,
No.
I sense that where you're going is they're pro players. Deal with it. Whatever the map pool is.
nope.
Okay.
No.
All right. Okay.
Completely different. I don't think that the ones at the top should decide what the rules are for what's at top. 'Cause
For
I
the
think
thing that
there
they
is-
are doing to win money,
there
I
is
don't
too
think.
much of
Yeah.
a bias
Okay.
for them to keep the things in that they like.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
I agree.
think it's the same reason I don't think they should have that much to say on balance. They should give their feedback.
I agree.
And then Ubi can go, yeah.
I agree.
They can
agree.
do a change.
Yeah.
I don't think they should have any say in how it's done. I want
Yep.
to see the ones that are the best at playing what they have, not the best at making the game, because they're not game devs, and very few of them are ever going to be.
Yep. I agree.
So I just find it a very, I don't know, biased.
And I'll throw this in. I firmly believe that seeing pros play newer or reworked maps drives viewership. I think there's so much more. Like people want to
Yep.
see how the best players in the world are going to play these maps. And then
Same with ops.
and then the
Or,
unintended consequence of that is now once the pros start to break those down and work out the strats, that stuff bleeds into ranked, and now all of a sudden instead of it being banned all the time, it starts to become, looked forward to and accepted a little bit more and more. So, yeah.
You're absolutely right. Unfortunately, I think there is my understanding as to it not still being changed is that the players will vote around the world. I think a lot of the reason Theme Park went out was because APAC was very much against it, and that's where a lot of the votes came from. It was very concentrated in one region kind of thing, from my memory. I think when we find out about the maps for the competitive map pool for this season, or for whatever the stages they're going to break it down into, I don't know. I'm just speculating. Whatever we find out, I would hate if what I've heard the players have voted is the exact replica of what we get in the map pool, because then it shows that the players have power. The players should only have power in areas upon which they are not having bias towards how they earn their money. I think you should adapt to what you're given, play, and the teams that adapt the best and play the best under those circumstances should therefore be the best. And I'm a little disappointed with the vote, and I hope Ubisoft looks at the vote and goes, well, actually, for viewership's sake and this sake, or whatever, right, we're going to do this. So
we also know that there is this spicy thing where people could be talking together about what maps they'd like to go out because a certain team is really good at a map. There are some really stinky things that could happen.
Sure.
Yeah.
With stuff like this, and might have happened. So I generally don't think voting for maps from a player perspective. I think they should have some sort of like cell agency, whatever you want to call it, that is unbiased, doesn't give a fuck, just looks at, you know what maps are actually fun to watch, and then we put them in.
Yep.
Play.
Yep.
Rules should be fully dictated by someone else than Ubisoft and players.
I like a mixture of it. I like a mixture that they would go to the pro players and say, what do you see from, the top level? And then they take it and they go, this is like I would do in university, where I would take all these different information and I idealize what looks best on my paper or what doesn't, or what information I need and what I don't. And then you just rank it from there as the developer, as the publisher, and going, all right, as a result of hearing that you think that you're doing the same strats 40 times over. We've also looked over the VODs. It's a little boring. It's a little stale. We actually agree with that sentiment. However, we don't agree that this other map doesn't fit in because we did a remake. It looks really fun. You're doing so many different things on it. So we don't agree with that. We're going to keep it in. And so that's what I would like to see happen.
But that's the problem, right? Because when you do the map vote, people vote on what they think is the best map. I don't give a shit. I want to watch the funniest map. The one that's the funnest to watch. And I think the viewer is 10 times better at judging that. Like, actually, just let fucking Twitch decide what maps are being played. That would be so fun.
It's my gosh. Probably like
yeah, had me until that, Zeronic.
Dude, that would be great. Okay, maybe not Twitch chat. Maybe.
Yeah. Maybe a private survey thing. Yeah, we'll think about it. Yeah. All right. No, I agree.
All right. Well, unless you guys have something else, we can wrap up there. Awesome. If you made it this far on the YouTube or the podcast app, keep in mind
what is wrong with you?
Yeah, we're sorry. But keep in mind, we do live stream these, so you can come to any of our Twitch channels. We're gonna try and do them weekly on Thursday at 11 Eastern is when we go live with this. So if you want to watch it live, there'll be episodes where we take viewer questions at the end. It doesn't look like we're gonna have time for that today, but we'll try to incorporate that at times. So if you want to come be a part of the broadcast, make sure you come check out our Twitch channels. Really looking forward to getting back rolling again, especially with Jess alongside us. And with that said, I guess we'll sign off.
Thanks, guys.